Chapter 1. Mu Chichi, you killed Grandma? The Mu family doesn't have a daughter like you. From today onwards, get out of the Mu family and never come back. Her father's roar was still ringing beside her ears, but Mu Chichi was already dragged out of the Mu family's iron gates by a servant. I didn't kill Grandma, it's Grandma's sister. Mu Chichi wailed. Chichi, don't shout anymore. Come with me. A plainly dressed middle-aged woman was tugging at Mu Chichi outside the door. Your mother has entrusted you to me. You will live with me from now on. The Mu family did not want her anymore. She had been mischievous since she was young, which was why she became her sister's scapegoat when Grandma overdosed. Her twin sister Mu Tangxue said, "Daddy, it was Sis who fed Grandma the drug." Hence, her life was thrown into the 18 levels of hell. Even though they were twins, she took all the blame for her sister because she could not act. This time she was directly chased out of the family. Although she had wanted to leave the Mu family a long time ago, it was not in such a manner. Mu Chichi hugged herself and cried when she arrived at her aunt's simple residence, and her aunt followed suit. How can the Mu family be so unreasonable? How can a rich young lady live with a poor aunt like me? You're not even 18 yet. Moreover, your uncle? He was a gambler and drunkard who sold everything in the house. Now that Mu Chichi was here, there was no telling if that scum would remember her and sell her off. Chichi, you should go to a friend's clinic in a nearby town and stay there for a few days. I'll discuss it with your uncle. My poor child, you're clearly twins, but why are you so different? It was not the first time, and it had always been the same since she was young. Whenever Mu Tangxue cried, she would become the culprit, and whenever she caused trouble outside, it would be her fault. There were many times when Mu Chichi dreamed that she would marry the son of her enemy when she grew up and piss off her own parents. She would never have imagined that her wish would come true so soon. When Mu Chichi arrived at the clinic, she was able to help out with some miscellaneous work. After being abandoned by the Mu family, she could only drop out of school. The clinic was located next to the main road, and there were frequent car accidents here. That was why the patients who were sent here had more serious injuries. Mu Chichi did not have any other thoughts at the moment. All she needed was food and a place to stay. Perhaps deep in her heart, she believed that the Mu family would not really abandon her. But 3 months had passed. There was no news from the Mu clan. Perhaps they wouldn't even send anyone to look for her. Chichi, why are you daydreaming? There's another car accident. Come with me to save people. It was just nightfall when the boss of the clinic woke her up from her chair. Mu Chichi quickly followed behind him. When they arrived at the scene of the accident, they moved the injured people from the car to the clinic's treatment room. A total of 3 people were rescued. One of the drivers was seriously injured, and the other 2 were young men. One of them was seriously injured, and the other was only scratched and passed out. Chichi, help. Mu Chichi quickly went forward when she heard her boss's shout. She helped the young man who was more seriously injured to the bed. However, when he was lying flat, she realized that man was Xing Xiao, the crown prince of Huang Yao, a demonic being. Mu Chichi had once attended the same aristocratic school as him, and the 2 of them would often appear on the same bulletin board. The difference was that Xing Xiao had won some prize, while she had gotten into trouble and was criticized. Naturally, she was just an elementary school student then. Still, there was one weird thing. Xing Xiao was not an elite student who followed the rules. He was dangerous and bad to the core. Chichi, take off that man's pants. Hurry! Mu Chichi quickly reacted when she heard her boss's shout. Oh, okay, his pants too. Mu Chichi was speechless. It's a human life. What are you spacing out for? The others are saving the heavily injured driver. Hurry up, I need to stop the bleeding from his thigh. In any case, Mu Chichi was only 18 years old and had never seen that part of a man. That was why it was normal for her to hesitate. Still, to save him, she mustered up her courage and took off the man's pants. First time? The boss could not help chuckling even though he was busy. Mu Chichi's voice was trembling. Who said that? Well, you should really ask him to marry you now that he's awake. As a matter of fact, the man was not completely unconscious. At the very least, he could hear voices beside his ears and know that his pants had been taken off. And the one who took off his pants was that little troublemaker from the Mu family. He would remember this debt. What's your blood type, Chichi? This man has lost a lot of blood and needs a transfusion. But where would our clinic have any? The boss asked Mu Chichi even as he stopped the bleeding. I'm O-type. Come, sacrifice yourself gloriously. Mu Chichi did not think much about it and gave Xing Xiao a blood transfusion. Her petite frame was showing great strength in such a moment. Soon Xing Xiao fell asleep. His handsome face was particularly dazzling under the soft light. How could anyone be so good-looking? Mu Chichi watched over Xing Xiao as he rested, while his assistant rested next door. The boss of the clinic was contacting the police, and the night finally came to an end in silence. The next day, Mu Chichi was about to fetch some water for Xing Xiao when her aunt came to the clinic. "Chichi, I'm here to take you home. Uncle has agreed for you to stay." Although Mu Chichi wanted to stay in the clinic, she had no family here and had to continue her studies. That was why she left with her aunt after saying goodbye to the boss of the clinic. But how could she know that what awaited her was her uncle's trap? After a night's rest, Xing Xiao finally regained his spirit. When he opened his eyes, he found his assistant beside him. "Young master, you're awake. I'll help you up, but your pants are torn." At the mention of his pants, Xing Xiao remembered the little girl who looked at his body. "Where's the girl from the Mu family?" Xing Xiao asked hoarsely, half propping himself up. "She was taken away by her aunt." "I didn't expect you to know her, sir," the boss of the clinic explained as he entered the room. "Poor girl. She was chased out by the Mu family, and there's no telling if it's a blessing or a curse for her to leave with her aunt." "Why?" "Her uncle is a beast. He drinks, gambles, and sells people. He will definitely do such things. Not to mention this little girl of the Mu Jia is soft and tender. She can be sold for a lot of money." Taking off his pants and leaving just like that? He had never been touched by a woman in his life. "Young master, we're going back to Jianchuan soon?" the assistant reminded him. Chapter 2. Meanwhile, Mu Chichi was following her aunt home when her uncle studied her from head to toe in surprise. "You're already 18 and you're growing into a fine lady. You really are the daughter of a rich family and your skin is so white. Look, what did Aunt Zipe say? Uncle would definitely like you." Mu Chichi's aunt whispered into her ear in delight. "You can live with me in peace from now on and ignore the Mu family." Mu Chichi put down her backpack. She was very uncomfortable with her uncle's gaze, but she held it in. "Thank you, uncle. I have to go to work after picking you up. You should rest at home today and I'll bring you to a nearby school in 2 days. You have to study after all." Mu Chichi was panicking, especially since her aunt was not around and her uncle was the only one left at home. She quickly said, "Aunt Zipe, I'll go with you. Don't be afraid. Your uncle will be leaving soon. Just lock the door." Mu Chichi's aunt was still holding on to hope that her husband was really willing to accept Mu Chichi. Mu Chichi said nothing else, but the fear in her heart did not diminish. As soon as the two of them left the house, she quickly locked the door. Her uncle, who was pretending to leave, smirked. Quite the vigilant one. But what good is this broken door? Soon, her uncle arrived at the door with 3 or 4 men. "You'll definitely be satisfied with the goods I'm introducing you this time. The daughter the Mu family doesn't want, she's so young." Mu Chichi was getting more and more afraid as she listened to the commotion outside. Chichi, I'm back. I bought you good food. Hurry up and open the door." Mu Chichi did not reply, her palms sweating. She knew that her life would be over if she opened the door, but her fate would not change even if she did not. She could only hope that her aunt would come back soon. "Aunt Zipe, please come back soon. Break the door." Mu Chichi's uncle lost his patience and ordered the thugs he hired. A loud bang could be heard, the broken door opened and Mu Chichi leaned against the window. In that very moment, there was only despair in her heart. "Chichi, you're so naughty." Looking at her uncle's ferocious face, Mu Chichi cried out. But how could she struggle against these men? "Uncle, please let me go, I beg you. I can do anything for you." 200,000? Are you worth 200,000? Can you give me 200,000? Mu Chichi turned to look at the window behind her. She was on the 3rd floor, but it was better than being sold. With that thought, she turned and jumped out of the window. However, the other party reached out and grabbed her long legs. She didn't even have the chance to jump down. Perhaps afraid that she would continue to resist, the hooligan knocked her out and carried her on his shoulder. "This product is really good. I won't sell it to just anyone." The buyer left with a deep smile. Meanwhile, Mu Chichi's uncle only cared about taking the money and having a good time. Who cared about Mu Chichi's life? Mu Jia didn't want them anymore. Xing Xiao asked his assistant to find Mu Chichi's aunt's house, but they were too late. She had already been kidnapped. Mu Chichi's aunt was crying and throwing a tantrum at home. But how could she argue with a man who was like a beast? "What do we do now, young master?" the assistant asked. "Go back to Jianchuan and find out where she was sold," Xing Xiao said coldly before closing his eyes. He didn't have to care about a girl's business, but there was a voice in his heart that kept reminding him that he would regret it if he didn't. Yes, young master. After Muchichi was taken away, she woke up in a small dark hut. There was food on the floor and water beside her, but she had no hope. She didn't know what would happen to her next. Mu Tangxue was enjoying the treatment of a rich young lady at home, while she was reduced to the point where she had to be sold. It was impossible to say that she didn't hate it. She hated it so much. Soon night fell. Muchichi heard the commotion and knew that someone had come to capture her, but she had nowhere to run. After the iron door was opened, a woman in a short black fur skirt, along with 2 other women, grabbed her out. Dress yourself up. Don't get hurt. Hence, Muchichi was dragged out to dress herself up. She was dressed in clothes that didn't suit her age. She was wearing a revealing black skirt and heavy makeup. Send her to Hill Hotel room 1105. The woman who led the group ordered her subordinates after studying Muchichi. Then when she saw Muchichi's face full of grief, she gave her a warning. And you, behave yourself. Or I'll have your limbs broken and you'll have to beg on the streets. Don't be a chaste girl when you're already sold. Muchichi's limbs were restrained and she was sent straight to the hotel. The other party didn't even give her time to breathe, and locked her in room 1105. There were people guarding outside the door, probably waiting for the buyer. Muchichi hid at the foot of the bed, filled with despair towards life. Soon, the sound of voices came from outside the door. Then the door was pushed open. Muchichi screamed by reflex, wanting to call for help. But the tall man caught her and threw her onto the bed. Don't resist. I don't have the strength to hold you anymore. Muchichi suddenly quietened down. She could feel that the voice was familiar. Then, she tentatively switched on the bedside lamp, and for some reason, froze on the bed when she saw Xing Xiao sitting on the floor with a pale face. You, go wash your face. You're so ugly. Xing Xiao was injured in the first place, but his dangerous aura didn't diminish. I'm injured. What do you think I can do to you? Muchichi was temporarily relieved at those words. She strode into the bathroom and washed herself from head to toe. Am I saved? Muchichi couldn't help asking herself. She was already afraid of the people around her. She didn't dare to trust anyone, even if that person was someone she was familiar with. But what if he was a man who was worse than her uncle? What should she do? With that thought, Muchichi locked herself in the bathroom, not daring to go out at all. After waiting in the bedroom for 2 hours and not seeing Muchichi, Xing Xiao reluctantly got up and called the hotel's customer service. Soon they opened the bathroom door for Xing Xiao. Stupid. Muchichi sat on the toilet, her expression blank. Xing Xiao told the hotel manager that someone had committed suicide in the bathroom, and the manager's face turned pale with fright. He quickly opened the door. But Muchichi was still foolish enough to think that she was safe inside. Xing Xiao simply threw a towel over her head. Come out. Muchichi hugged herself and walked to Xing Xiao timidly, only to find him saying, Help me take off my pants. Chapter 3. Xing Xiao put a hand on his knee when he saw that and looked at her with interest. My wan tore because of you. Shouldn't you treat it for me? Muchichi quickly said when she saw Xing Xiao's blood-soaked trousers. I'll bandage it for you right away. With that, she knelt on the floor. The moonlight shone on them and there was a yellow bedside lamp beside them. Xing Xiao's lips curled unwittingly as he watched Muchichi lower her head. In the darkness, Xing Xiao's gaze was sharp, and he looked like a perfect vampire in an ancient castle. Is the eldest daughter of the Mu family now a bedmate? Muchichi could not answer, but her throat was burning and choking. At that, Xing Xiao simply hooked his arm around Muchichi's neck and told her, I can help you since Huang Yao would have an extra pair of chopsticks. But, if you follow me you must forget who you are. I Xing Xiao don't keep ingrates. Muchichi was afraid of those eyes. They were sharp and confident like a falcon, but she had to face them. Why would you help me? Xing Xiao leaned close to Muchichi's nose and smiled like a demon. Because it's fun. Then Xing Xiao let go of Muchichi. Bandage it properly. If it tore again I'll eat you. Xing Xiao was unfathomable to Muchichi right now, and she did not have the guts to do so. All she knew was that she was trembling in fear even when she received someone else's pity. And yet Xing Xiao said that she would follow him. Could she follow him? Soon Muchichi finished bandaging Xing Xiao's wound and tidied his clothes. That was when Xing Xiao asked her, Does it look good down there? Muchichi thought that he was referring to the time in the clinic when she took off his underwear, which was why she blushed and stuttered. I didn't do it on purpose. You were in an emergency at the time and needed treatment. I'm asking you, does the floor look good? You have to keep your head down. Muchichi was speechless. Sheng Xiao suddenly chuckled when he saw Mu Qiqi's reaction, and got up to sit on the sofa. If you keep being so cute, I might really eat you? Mu Qiqi stood up as well. When she saw Sheng Xiao sitting on the sofa, she was finally a little less guarded. Sheng Xiao looked at her and suddenly felt sleepy. He pulled the blanket off the big bed. Go to sleep. I still have things to do tomorrow. Mu Qiqi was not given a place to sleep. There was only one big bed in the bedroom and she could only take a rest on the sofa, although she did not think that she could really fall asleep. What identity should she use to follow this man? Everyone in Jianchuan knew that the Mu family and the Sheng family were mortal enemies, but the one who saved her was the son of her enemy. Moreover, what would Sheng Xiao do for her? After letting her imagination run wild all night, Mu Qiqi was woken up by the sound of someone washing up in the bathroom. She promptly sat up on the sofa, only to find Xing Zhao's assistant standing in a corner. Miss Mu, it's time to go. Where are we going? Mu Qiqi asked in confusion. Naturally, it's where we should go. Xing Xiao was 26 years old and the 8th son of the Sheng family. Since his father was running Huangyao, he was called the Crown Prince. Everyone said that he was bad, and it was not just his personality. It was also rumored that he was mean to others, doing whatever he liked and doing all sorts of bad things. No one in the Sheng family could provoke that demon, and so he had always been free and unfettered. Mu Qiqi was sitting in Xing Zhao's car as she recalled those things. Of course, it was not the sports car that was wrecked in the accident. Where are we going? You'll know when we get there. Xing Zhao's assistant was called Jing Yun. He had been by his side since he was a child, and was as much a brother as an assistant. Even so, deep down in his bones he would never dare to claim such a high position. Mu Qiqi was very nervous, but did not dare to ask when she saw Xing Xiao sitting in the front passenger seat. That was until they arrived at a familiar place. It was her aunt's house. Mu Qiqi did not know what Xing Xiao was doing and could only follow him out of the car. Mu Qiqi's aunt threw herself at Mu Qiqi in tears when she saw her. My child, my poor child, I've let you down. I want to kill that scum of a man like your uncle. Mu Qiqi's uncle was puzzled when he saw Mu Qiqi. Wasn't she sold to the big boss? Could the big boss be dissatisfied and returned her? No. He naturally recognized Xing Xiao when he saw him leaning against the white car. It was the crown prince of the Sheng family. What was he doing here? Whatever the case may be, Mu Qiqi's uncle knew that he could not afford to offend him, and quickly greeted him with a smile. Thank you, young Master Sheng, for bringing Mu Qiqi back. Bringing her back? No. Xing Xiao shook his head and told Mu Qiqi's uncle, I just want to tell you that you can't afford to offend this girl from now on. Young Master Sheng, are you joking? She's the daughter of your enemy. Didn't the Mu family say that they don't want her anymore? At that, Xing Xiao turned to Mu Qiqi. That scum sold you out last night. How do you want to get back at him? In that very moment, Mu Qiqi suddenly understood why Xing Xiao had brought her here. Still, Mu Qiqi was still young and had not learned how to be ruthless. Can I really do anything? Mu Qiqi asked tentatively. Apart from your worthless life. Xing Xiao said, shrugging. Think carefully. I won't care if you let him go and he sells you out again. Mu Qiqi's uncle's legs turned to jelly at Xing Xiao's words and he quickly said, Young Master Xing, please let me go. I was blinded by greed. I didn't know that you and Mu Qiqi were related. I'll return you the money, please let me go. I'll kneel before you. How could a commoner dare to go against a rich family? Mu Qiqi's uncle was very sensible, and he was sure that Mu Qiqi would not dare to do anything to him, since she was just an 18-year-old girl. But he was wrong. Once Mu Qiqi remembered the humiliation she suffered yesterday and how detestable her uncle was, she could not bear it. That was why she mustered her courage and told Xing Xiao, I want him gone from Jianchuan. I can't see him again. Xing Xiao laughed at that. And here I thought it was some handcuff and stomp. Still, at least you've spoken. Mu Qiqi, from today onwards you're in cahoots with me. I like it when you're a little bad. Then Xing Xiao gestured for Mu Qiqi to get into the car, and instructed Jing Yun, make that scum disappear and take Mu Qiqi's aunt away so that she can be taken care of. I understand, young master. You should return to Jianchuan now. Jing Yun reminded him. Xing Xiao had already wasted a lot of time for Mu Qiqi. His master and mistress were asking questions, but he had taken in the daughter of his enemy halfway. Also, give them the house in the suburbs of Jianchuan. Chapter 4. On the way to the apartment, Mu Qiqi's aunt couldn't help asking, What's going on, Qiqi? Aunt Zipe, I might have to follow Xing Xiao from now on. He saved me yesterday, and didn't let me be sold to someone else. Mu Chichi explained to her aunt with teary eyes. And how I treated uncle. That scum deserves it. Pausing, Mu Chichi's aunt added, but it's ridiculous no matter how you put it. What status does young Master Sheng have to take you in? Not to mention the feud between your two families. Mu Chichi's aunt was rather worried. She was afraid that Mu Chichi would walk into a tiger's mouth again. I don't know, but I have nowhere else to go. Why don't we thank young Master Sheng for helping us get rid of your uncle? Then you can come home with me. I'll work to support you? Mu Chichi's aunt suggested. Most of all, she was feeling very uneasy. Mu Chichi shook her head reluctantly. I'm abandoned by the Mu family, Aunt Zipei. There's no telling what Tangxue would do if she learns that I'm in your house. I can't stand it anymore, and I can't stand how Mom and Dad spoil her endlessly while hurting me. I don't know what will happen if I follow Xing Xiao, but I don't want to be the scapegoat for Tangxue like before. Mu Chichi's aunt nodded bitterly at that. All right. If that's what you've decided, I'll stay by your side. Morals and ethics are all tossed aside. Thank you, Aunt Zipei. Why would Mu Chichi's aunt agree with Mu Chichi's idea? That was because yesterday, when she learned that Mu Chichi had been sold by her husband, not only did she plan to divorce that scum, she even called her sister immediately. But that was Mu Chichi's biological mother, and she did not feel anything when she heard the news. So be it. Keep an eye on her and don't let this get out. It's an embarrassment to the Mu family. Well, since Mu Chichi's own mother was treating Mu Chichi that way, there was no need for her to return to the Mu family. Now it was up to Xing Xiao to arrange things for Mu Chichi. Sheng Zhao's assistant had arranged for Mu Chichi and her aunt to stay in an apartment on the outskirts of Jianchuan, but they passed by the school for nobles that they had attended together on the way there. Mu Chichi was on the verge of tears. Su Zipei comforted her. Chichi, don't be sad. Since we are now with the Sheng family, let's forget about that family. I just can't accept that Mu Tangxue is sitting there safe and sound, enjoying all the love. At the front, Xing Zhao's assistant couldn't help asking Mu Chichi after listening to their conversation. If you were given the chance to return to this school, would you still give in to your sister? Dream on. In order to make her younger sister happy, she had made a mess of her studies. In order to make her sister happy, she would do anything, even losing herself. In the future, it would never happen again. Meanwhile, Xing Xiao was driving home on his own. He was scolded by his family for getting into a car accident, and was then allowed to rest in his room. Soon, Jing Yun, his assistant, returned to report to Xing Xiao about Mu Chichi and her aunt's current situation. Be that as it may, he couldn't help asking, Young master, this is an 18-year-old girl, not a cat or a dog. You have to take responsibility since you brought her home. I know. Xing Xiao replied, leaning back on the sofa and closing his eyes. It's not easy to take care of someone. Do you want me to stand by and watch as she is sold? Xing Xiao asked Jing Yun in return, straightening up. We can let her live with her aunt after we save her. We shouldn't interfere with the Mu family's affairs. Are you going to listen to me or you? Xing Xiao teased him playfully. The assistant's face froze and he quickly answered, You, but if master and madam find out that you're keeping a girl outside, then don't let them know. Xing Xiao said, rising to his feet. Jing Yun had the feeling that his young master was being childish, bringing someone home just like that and saying that he would take care of her. But could he afford it? He was clearly a wanton person who loved freedom. But while Jing Yun was spacing out, Xing Xiao had already reached the door. Young master, where are you going? I'll get someone to change my bandages. As for who, it was definitely the person who stripped him naked. When Mu Chichi reached the apartment, she felt that she was no different from when she was with the Mu family. After all, the apartment was too luxurious. Still, she didn't know where her future lay even though she was in such a luxurious place. Chichi, does young master Xing mean to raise you like a mistress? Her Aunt Zipei was rather worried. If that's the case, I wouldn't let you, even if I die. Aunt Zipei might be thinking too much. I'm more or less disgusted with her current figure. Xing Xiao promptly put the key on the table when he entered, studying Mu Chichi with a curious look. Young master Xing, change my bandages. Xing Xiao crooked a finger at Mu Chichi. Young master Xing, let me do this. I'm sure I can do it better than Mu Chichi. Su Zipei quickly stopped them from being alone. After all, Mu Chichi was too innocent. What, Aunt Zipei? Are you afraid that I'll eat her up? Xing Xiao smiled, the demonic air showing between his brows. It's fine, Aunt Zipei. I trust him. Mu Chichi quickly said, before crouching in front of Xing Xiao in the guest room downstairs. You, take off your pants. Xing Xiao propped his elbows on his knees and reached out to hold Mu Qiqi's chin. Miss Mu, do you think that you're living under someone else's roof? I'm just scared. I don't know where my future lies or if I should leave tomorrow. Mu Qiqi said tearfully. I told you. You're a Xing now that you're with me. As long as I'm here, you'll have food to eat and a place to sleep. What? You don't believe me? Xing Xiao asked Mu Qiqi seriously. I believe you. Mu Qiqi nodded. She appeared very sincere. Even so, Xing Xiao knew that it was difficult for Mu Qiqi to shake off her fear at once. Even so, he did not force her. Find a school. You should be in school now, and if I remember correctly, you're only in your 3rd year. Yeah. Mu Qiqi nodded. She knew very well that she could no longer hope to return to her old school after being chased out of the Mu family. She had neither status nor money now. Still, Xing Xiao's next words left her stunned. You definitely can't go to Van Gogh Royal Academy? Yeah. Eton then. Mu Qiqi did a double take. It was for no other reason than the fact that Eton was even more prestigious than Van Gogh. Why would Xing Xiao ask her to go there? I'll have Jing Yun handle your admission tomorrow. Mu Qiqi, you'll know if you're really worse than your sister when you get into school. Chapter 5. Well, if the Mu family comes looking for me one day, would you let me go back? Xing Xiao straightened at the question and hooked his arm around Mu Qiqi's neck, pulling his handsome face closer. That's why I'm letting you choose now. Because I've told you that the Sheng family doesn't raise ingrates. One could say that Mu Qiqi was young and naive, or that she was innocent and gullible. Still, deep down she was more willing to follow Xing Xiao because he had that kind of alluring charm. Especially his maroon eyes, which were as beautiful as amber. It was as if there was nothing to fear as long as she followed him. Moreover, you must learn to become stronger by following me or no one could help you. In that moment, Mu Qiqi nodded solemnly. Let's change the dressing. Xing Xiao appeared nonchalant throughout the process, but Mu Qiqi could feel that he was deliberately avoiding her gaze because he was afraid that she would blush and feel awkward. Nonetheless, after the dressing was done, Xing Xiao asked, You're already 18, right? Just a little. I'll be 18 a day before Christmas. Mu Qiqi replied. At her answer, Xing Xiao deliberately lifted Mu Qiqi's chin again. You're only 17 and you're already taking off a man's pants. You're so naughty, Mu Qiqi. I didn't do it on purpose. Mu Qiqi quickly explained. In the end, it was her blood that saved him. Therefore, Xing Xiao stopped teasing her. Your aunt won't believe that I'm innocent if you keep blushing. Mu Qiqi clutched her cheek and bit her lip, revealing a pretty mole on the side of her nose. She got up and went to the bathroom to calm herself down, but Xing Xiao was already gone when she stepped out of the door. Mu Qiqi felt disappointed for no reason. She always felt that this person came and went without a trace and was too free. How was it, Qiqi? He didn't do anything to you, did he? Su Zipei asked Mu Qiqi when she saw Xing Xiao leave. No. Mu Qiqi shook her head and told her aunt, Aunt Zipei, Xing Xiao told me to go to school. Of course you have to go to school. I just checked and there's a good school nearby. I'll have to work hard, Aunt Zipei. He said he's arranging for me to go to Eton. Mu Qiqi interrupted her. Then, isn't it better than the school your sister is studying in now? Su Zipei did not know much about the aristocratic schools, but she knew about the few good schools in the country. Although I don't think it's right, I'm happy to hear that you're going to a better school than your sister. Su Zipei laughed at herself. I can't believe my enemies are the ones who are going to give me what I can't. Auntie supports you. Mu Qiqi reached out and hugged Zipei, feeling grateful inside. Thank you, Aunt Zipei, for standing by my side at a time like this. Qiqi, you must live up to expectations. You must make the Mu clan regret abandoning you. At night, Jing Yun delivered a new school uniform, a school bag and a gold card. Your aunt is here so you don't need to take care of the house. But you need a driver. He will come tomorrow to take you to school. You've reappeared in the sights of others, and you're a daughter abandoned by the Mu family. It's inevitable that people would be suspicious if you suddenly attend a better school, which is why young master has arranged a sponsor for you. He's thought of everything. Mu Qiqi said in awe. Young master has so many good points, but he's also a bad person. How is he bad? Mu Qiqi only felt that Xing Xiao was dangerous, but she still felt that he was not a bad person. Jing Yun smiled but did not answer. Rest early. Well, what if I want to see Xing Xiao? Mu Qiqi quickly pressed. He will appear when he wants to, so don't hold any expectations for him. Jing Yun was very straightforward with his words because he was afraid that Xing Xiao would get into some unnecessary trouble. Helping Mu Qiqi was fine, but Mu Qiqi was already at the age where she was experiencing her first awakening of love. If she fell in love with his young master, then that would not be good. All right. Mu Qiqi's heart skipped a beat. Still, it must be said that Jing Yun had poked a sore spot in her heart. It was the age where it was easy to develop feelings for someone at 18, and she herself was afraid that she would have those messy thoughts about Xing Xiao. In fact, Xing Xiao was in his sports car outside the house, and only asked coldly when he saw Jing Yun leave. "Why are you taking so long?" "I have to say what I need to say, young master," Jing Yun replied respectfully. "Such as?" "So that Mu Qiqi doesn't have any improper thoughts about you." Xing Xiao couldn't help chuckling when he heard that. "But what if I have improper thoughts about her?" Jing Yun was speechless. "Let's go. You have to keep an eye on the school." Xing Xiao had no position in Huangyao at the moment, but there was no business he could not handle. It was not without reason that he was called the Crown Prince, but he was unwilling to be restrained by the office, which was why he had always been free. He would only appear when his father summoned him. He was a special existence in the Sheng family, while Huangyao was in the business of diamonds. That night, Mu Qiqi tried on her new uniform and picked up her books again. She never imagined that she would one day return to school after what she went through with the Mu family, and the best one at that. On TV, eldest uncle of the Mu family was being interviewed by a financial magazine, apologizing for delaying the interview. He even mentioned that something sad had happened in his family recently. His mother had passed away. "It's about my twin nieces. One of them is no longer with the Mu family, having been chased out. It has something to do with that." Mu Qiqi felt very hurt by the way the TV played it down and the host's teasing. Su Zipei quickly turned off the TV. "Don't watch it, Qiqi. Go rest. You have school tomorrow." "Okay." Mu Qiqi nodded. Then she got up and returned to her bedroom. Mu Qiqi felt insecure when she saw the room that did not belong to her. It was only when she remembered that Xing Xiao had sat at the foot of her bed during the day that she felt less helpless. So it was easy to develop a sense of dependence. The next morning, Mu Qiqi woke up early and met her chauffeur, Old Lin, as she left her house. "Good morning, Miss Mu. You can call me Uncle Lin. Please get in the car." Mu Qiqi got into the car in her uniform and passed by Van Gogh Royal Academy, where she saw Mu Tangxue, the daughter of the Mu family, entering the gates. And she would be going to a better school than Van Gogh Royal Academy. Chapter 6. Being a transfer student, Mu Qiqi would definitely feel conflicted. She was afraid that others would know that she was chased out of the Mu family, and that she was framed for her grandmother's death. She was prepared to be stared at in a strange way. However, when they arrived at the school, they saw 2 rows of teachers standing neatly at Eton's entrance. Among them were 2 vice principals of Eton. "I wonder who's so distinguished to have so many people greeting me," Mu Qiqi muttered to herself in curiosity. However, Old Lin, who was driving, was chuckling. "Miss Mu, they're all here to greet you." "Meh?" Mu Qiqi asked in surprise, pointing at herself. Old Lin parked the black car beside the gates of a luxurious building and got out to open the door for Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi hesitantly got out of the car, and found the 2 rows of teachers bowing reverently at her. "Welcome, Miss Mu." Mu Qiqi froze where she was. "Go, Miss Mu. No one would dare to look down on you here," Old Lin said, seizing the moment. "It's a special arrangement from our young master." Did Xing Xiao not find such a grand welcoming ceremony a little too much? Still, he was a man who lived under the sun. He liked to be the center of attention. Everyone knew his demonic side, but they still had to bow to him because of his status as the crown prince of Huangyao and his personal charisma. And now that Mu Qiqi was with him, then, no matter what kind of treatment he received, Mu Qiqi would not be left out. That made Mu Qiqi feel a sense of importance she had never felt before. "Mu Qiqi, everything about you has really changed." She had been afraid and conflicted at first, but when she saw the envious gazes of so many people, there was a hint of confidence in her even as she averted her gaze. Why would Xing Xiao make such arrangements? Because Xing Xiao had come to the little mansion last night, and Mu Qiqi was already asleep. To learn about Mu Qiqi's life with the Mu family, he knocked on Su Zipei's door. Su Zipei was surprised as well. She knew very well what kind of person Xing Xiao was, and yet such a famous person was actually asking about her Mu Qiqi. That was why the unease in her heart kept rising. "Young Master Sheng, are you trying to use Mu Qiqi to take revenge on the Mu family?" Xing Xiao chuckled playfully. "What does it have to do with me? It's the previous generation's fault. I'm just curious as to why. She's a pair of twins, but that lass is treated differently. Don't tell me you don't know. You might be a poor relative of the Mu family, but you would definitely know the inside story. She took a deep breath before answering seriously. Young Master Sheng, you really can't imagine the hurt and lack of confidence that her birth family had brought upon her. When Mu Chichi was in the Mu family, she often caused trouble. She has been like this since she was young. However, the uncles of the Mu family have always been eyeing the management rights of the company in my brother-in-law's hands. They often use Chichi's troubles to cause trouble for my brother-in-law. So, my brother-in-law has always disliked this troublesome daughter of his. As for Mu Chichi's younger sister, Tang Xue, she was given more attention because of her delicate body. Moreover, she was good at coaxing her grandparents, which was why Mu Chichi was often ignored by the family. As time went by, the Mu family simply didn't realize that they treated their sisters so differently. And Mu Chichi's chased out of the family this time. Aside from her grandmother's death, I'm guessing that Mu Chichi's uncles were using it as a pretext to seize control of the company. My brother-in-law had to chase Mu Chichi away so harshly to shut those uncles' mouths and leave them speechless. I heard all that from my sister, and I have my own guesses too. Su Zipei could not hold back her tears even as she said those words. You're right, young Master Sheng. Twins should be treated the same. Is there any child who isn't loved by their parents? And yet, my brother-in-law did it. Mu Chichi had a hard life. She was born into a rich family, but she never felt her parents' love. I've seen my brother-in-law teach Mu Chichi a few times. He doesn't leave her any dignity at all. I only believed it when I saw it with my own eyes. Su Zipei's aunt only knew that Mu Chichi loved to cause trouble, but she did not know that Mu Tangxue was the one who framed most of those incidents, because Mu Tangxue knew that her parents would love her even more that way. Sheng Xiao was silent after hearing Su Zipei out, and only rose from the sofa after some time. And Sheng Xiao will say the ugly things first. Mu Chichi has everything I have in the Sheng family. But in return, you have to be loyal to the Sheng family on the surface since you live off the Sheng family. If I find out that you're still in contact with the Mu family, I'll let you try my tricks. Su Zipei nodded repeatedly at that. Don't worry, young Master Sheng. My words carry little weight, and it's not worth mentioning. I just hope that Mu Chichi can have a bright future. I'll do anything for you if you help Mu Chichi. I've never had a child in my life, so Mu Chichi is my own daughter. Sheng Xiao nodded in satisfaction at her answer. Well, I'll tell you that I have Mu Chichi's blood in my body. Sheng Xiao was referring to the blood transfusion Mu Chichi had given him. It feels as if I'm living with her, which is why I can't leave her alone. Because what's mine is mine, and I'd feel terrible if others bully it. I'll be frank with you now. Don't be so paranoid from now on. I don't have the patience to explain things to you. I understand, young Master Sheng. Su Zipei replied firmly. As long as Sheng Xiao was really good to Mu Chichi, she would not care what she did. Mu Chichi will go to school tomorrow. You have to help her adapt to her new life as soon as possible, and she'd better learn to walk sideways with me. Sheng Xiao was dangerous, domineering and ruthless. He was a man of his word. And behind him doing things his own way, there was actually an incomparably powerful support. Was it her fortune or misfortune that such a man was willing to help Mu Chichi? And that was the reason Mu Chichi was received so grandly by the Eton nobles in the morning. Mu Chichi no longer had to suffer Mu Tangshua's oppression after she returned to school. Before, she had deliberately slacked off in her studies and messed up her exams to avoid being framed by Mu Tangxue, all so that Mu Tangxue would be happy and not bother her in front of her parents. Now she wanted others to see her true ability. Thanks to Xing Zhao's flawless arrangements, the students did not suspect or pay too much attention to Mu Chichi's identity, which made Mu Chichi lower her guard even more, and she had Xing Xiao to thank for all that. Chapter 7. Knowing that Mu Chichi was adapting well in Eton, Xing Xiao rarely appeared in front of the two of them. But the more that was the case, the more Mu Chichi wanted to see him. Even so, she had no way of contacting him. On the other hand, Jing Yun came once. Mu Chichi asked him to tell Xing Xiao that he was invited to the little mansion, but Jing Yun did not tell Xing Xiao what she was thinking. After all, Jing Yun believed that Xing Xiao had done more than enough for her. He did not want Mu Chichi to come into contact with Xing Xiao unless it was something important. Mu Chichi would sit in the living room a little longer every day just to wait for Xing Xiao. But the longer she waited, the more disappointed she became. Chichi, the mock exam is tomorrow. You should rest early tonight. Su Zipei arranged and took care of Mu Chichi's diet. Aunt Zipe, I'm watching TV. Mu Chichi stared at the screen without blinking. Because on that small screen, Xing Xiao was dressed in formal attire and cutting the ribbon for a famous jewelry store with a model. That was probably the closest she had ever been to Xing Xiao. And yet, he was so far away, just like a distant and untouchable dream. That night, Xing Xiao was stopped by his friend as he left the banquet. Young Master Sheng, where are you going? Are you a man? There are so many beauties here and you don't like any of them? Xing Xiao chuckled when he saw his friend swaying left and right. I have a hardcore taste. I really don't like most people. Tisk, how boring. I'll leave you to your own devices then. Xing Xiao opened the door of his sports car, suddenly remembering that he was very close to the little mansion. It had been days since he last saw the little girl from the Mu family, and he simply did not believe Jing Yun's routine report. That was why he drove straight to the little mansion, and found that the light in the little girl's room was still on. Su Zipei was already asleep, and there was probably no one to open the door for him. That was why he simply bent down to pick up a pebble and threw it at the window of the little girl's room. Mu Chichi poked her head out when she heard the sound and found Xing Xiao downstairs. She quickly went downstairs and opened the door, her face full of excitement. Why are you back? Did Jing Yun tell you that I wanted to see you? Is that why you're back? Xing Xiao frowned when he heard what the little girl said. Jing Yun did not mention that to him at all. However, he remained calm and asked, Why do you want to see me? About the matter at school. I want to thank you even though I know that this is nothing to you. But it doesn't matter. I have a mock exam tomorrow. I'm more confident after seeing you tonight. Xing Xiao never thought that after 26 years of freedom, someone's expectations would make him feel a little worried. As expected, fatherly love was overflowing? Go in. I'm leaving, Xing Xiao suddenly said coldly to Mu Chichi. Oh, then when can I see you again? I can only see you through the TV now. Mu Chichi said dejectedly, pointing at the TV in the living room. When your national ranking surpasses your sister, I'll let you see her. Xing Xiao did not want Mu Chichi to have any expectations of him, but Mu Chichi's answer was very simple. I will. Although she had taken a break from school for a few months, the third year of high school was mainly about revision, and she was working so hard now. Moreover, it was not that she could not study before but that she just answered the questions randomly. All right, it's a promise. With those words, Xing Xiao turned, opened the car door and got in. Mu Chichi watched him drive away. Although she was upset, she reminded herself not to rely on Xing Xiao too much. When she returned to her room, Mu Chichi stared blankly at Xing Xiao's personal information on the internet. Now, apart from taking revenge against the Mu family, she seemed to have found a goal. She wanted to get closer to Xing Xiao. No one would have thought that a transfer student like her would be able to achieve such results in her first mock exam. Only Mu Chichi knew that she had risked her life. The Ministry of Education would announce the rankings for the national mock exam, and Mu Chichi was ranked top 5 in Eton and 27th in the country. Even so, she could not surpass her sister, Mu Tongxue. Moreover, the difference between them was just 2 ranks. Mu Tongxue was 25th. On the day the results were announced, Mu Chichi saw the people in her school pointing fingers at her. She had become famous with a single exam, and her classmates saw her in a different light. Even so, she did not achieve her goal. Didn't that mean she wouldn't be able to see him again? Mu Chichi went home with a sad face, but Su Zipei was very excited, hugging her and kissing her fiercely. Chichi, I didn't expect you to do so well in your exams. You used to be at the bottom of the whole school. I wonder what the Mu family's faces would look like if they knew that you were on par with Mu Tongxue. It's not enough. I will surpass her. Mu Chichi swore inwardly. It was true. Mu Tongxue saw her own results after the results were announced, and noticed Mu Chichi, who was just one name away from her. Was Mu Chichi her sister? Her sister was clearly never going to return to the Mu family, and her results were abysmal. How could she appear on the national rankings? Puzzled, Mu Tongxue entered her mother's room and wrapped her arms around her neck. Mom, where's my sister now? Mama Mu quickly closed the door when she heard the word, sister, and told her daughter, don't mention your sister at home. But I think she's so pitiful, she left home at such a young age. Even if it's her fault for killing Granny, she definitely didn't do it on purpose. Your uncles almost ate your father because your sister killed your granny, and it took a lot of effort to suppress the matter. Listen to me, don't mention your sister in front of your father. Moreover, Mama Mu remembered the phone call her sister had made saying that Mu Chichi had been sold by her brother-in-law. Now, wasn't it ruined too? That made it even more impossible for her to return to the Mu family. Moreover what? Nothing. Just pretend that you don't have a sister. Mama Mu said, stroking Mu Tongshua's soft hair. Mama Mu was a submissive person who always obeyed her husband, which was why she had no right to speak when it came to her daughter's matters. Moreover, Papa Mu was always blaming her for not teaching Mu Chichi well. Now that Mu Chichi was gone, it was a relief for everyone. She would never dare to save Mu Chichi because her husband would scold her to death if he found out. Still, she simply didn't know that they didn't have to worry about Mu Chichi's life anymore. Mu Tongxue was very happy. It meant that her sister would never come back to fight her for love. As for the Mu Chichi in the rankings, it was probably a coincidence that they shared the same name. Chapter 8. Mu Tongxue was still worried. She knew that her mother had entrusted Mu Chichi to her poor aunt, and although she would not be able to play any tricks, she wanted to see it with her own eyes so that she could be at ease. So, the next morning Mu Tongxue deliberately woke up early and had the chauffeur send her to the poor district where Su Zipei lived. "Miss, it's dirty there. Don't get off later, just tell me if you need anything." "Thank you, Uncle Zhong," Mu Tongxue said politely to the chauffeur. She had always been the perfect young lady of the Mu family in front of others. Beautiful, noble, and considerate. "Sai, we are sisters after all. You are the only one who cares about Miss." The chauffeur thought that she had come to visit Mu Chichi, and was touched by her sentimental behavior. "Uncle Zhong, there's no one at my aunt's house. Could you ask around for me?" "Yes, Mississippi. Please wait here." The chauffeur quickly got off and returned to the car, his expression somber. "What's wrong?" "Miss, the neighbors said that they saw with their own eyes that Miss was sold by your beastly uncle." "He was sold?" Mu Tongxue was very happy to hear that, but she deliberately lowered her head and looked very sad. In fact, she could guess that it was not surprising that her uncle sold her sister since he loved money so much. "Miss, don't be sad. Let's go, Uncle Zhong." Poor sister. Since her sister was sold, the Mu Chichi who appeared on the results report could not be her sister anymore. She really didn't expect that her uncle, who was worse than a beast, would actually help her so much. From now on, she no longer had to worry about a person who looked almost identical to her appearing in the family and competing with her for the favor of the family. "Don't tell Dad, Uncle Zhong. You know he doesn't like to talk about my sister. I'm afraid he'll be upset and take it out on her." "Don't worry, Miss." In the chauffeur's mind, Mu Tongxue was kind and considerate, and would never look down on him just because he was a chauffeur. Only Mu Chichi and Mu Tongxue knew how vicious she was. On the other hand, Mu Chichi was sad that she could not beat Mu Tongxue, but she could not tell if she was upset because of the ranking or because she could not see Xing Xiao. The next mock exam would be in 2 months' time. Su Zipei did not notice Mu Chichi's girlish thoughts at the moment. She thought that Mu Chichi was just thinking that she was not good enough, and so comforted her. "Chichi, you've been out of school for so long. It's good enough that you've achieved such results." "I'm fine, Aunt Zipei," Mu Chichi reassured her. "Look, what did I buy for you?" Su Zipei took out a box from behind and put it in front of Mu Chichi. "I had to live frugally to make ends meet, but I really wanted to buy you a present you like, so I bought you this cell phone, and it was the newest and most expensive one. Chichi, Aunt Zipei has saved my number in there." Mu Chichi looked at Su Zipei, the woman who looked so much like her mother. She suddenly felt emotional because her aunt was closer to her than her own mother. "Look, this is my aunt's," Su Zipei said, taking out another cell phone from her pocket. But Mu Chichi could tell at a glance that the cell phone she used was much older. At that, Mu Chichi took out the cell phone from the box and handed it to Su Zipei before snatching it away. "I'll use this." "How can you do that?" Su Zipei asked in surprise. "I'll contact you every day, Aunt Zipei. I don't need such a good cell phone. It'll affect my studies." Su Zipei nodded, knowing that she was sensible. "Then you can exchange it with me whenever you want." Mu Chichi took out the old cell phone and looked at the contact list. Her eyes lit up when she saw the name Young Master Sheng. It was left behind by Xing Xiao when he went to look for Su Zipei just in case, but Su Zipei never bothered him. Mu Chichi clenched the cell phone tightly and put it in her pocket as if she had found a treasure. That was why she had to pull herself together. At that thought, Mu Chichi hugged Su Zipei, and worked even harder in her studies. Moreover, Mu Chichi found out everything about Xing Xiao online, studying his hobbies, learning his dressing style, and even joining various clubs and school. She did not want to waste her time. At the very least, she had to be worthy of what Xing Xiao had done for her. Even if it was just an order for Xing Xiao, Su Zipei could clearly see the change in Mu Chichi. From that, Su Zipei could clearly see the changes in Mu Chichi. Apart from studying, Mu Chichi had expanded her extracurricular activities. She had more contact with her classmates and became more confident. And in that period, Mu Chichi could only see Xing Xiao through the small television. That was why Mu Chichi knew how busy he was as the crown prince of Huangyao. And that small number was in her cell phone and she never called it. Inside Huangyao Hotel, Xing Xiao had just met the Italian. Papa Xing had just had a minor heart surgery, which was why he was temporarily brought to Huangyao to handle official business. It had been days since he had a proper rest, and he happened to have some free time since he had a meeting in an hour. Xing Xiao seized the time to rest, but just as he closed his eyes, he heard a text notification on his phone. He took it out and saw that it was Su Zipei, but the content made his eyes widen unwittingly. "Oh, I'm Chichi. I lost to Mu Tongxue by 2 places, but I'll keep working hard." After reading it, Xing Xiao thought that it had been a long time since he last saw the little girl. He did not expect her to suddenly send him a message. He had been too busy recently and Jing Yun did not go over, which was why there was no message for him. Coincidentally, the hotel was nearby and he could go over at night. That was why when night fell and Xing Xiao was about to drive to the little mansion, Jing Yun reminded him to stop him. "Young master, have you forgotten about your promise with Mu Chichi? You will only meet her if she passes Mu Tongshue's test?" "I just said it casually and you remember it," Xing Xiao teased. "I always keep your words in mind, young master." "Then you should know that I've met Mu Chichi, and that she asked you to tell her that she wants to meet me." "Jing Yun, you've already decided everything for me. Why don't you live my life instead?" Jing Yun's heart skipped a beat at Xing Xiao's dangerous words. "I'm sorry, young master. I won't let you off so easily if there's a next time." With those words, Xing Xiao got into his sports car and went straight to the little mansion. Chapter 9. You're sleeping early, little girl? Xing Xiao was about to leave when Mu Chichi seemed to have heard the sound of a car engine downstairs. She quickly turned on the lights, got out of bed and looked out the window. Xing Xiao quickly extinguished the fire when he saw her like that. In the next second, Mu Chichi appeared in front of him in her pajamas. "You're back? Did you see my message? Little girl, why do you use a phone?" Xing Xiao locked the car as he entered the living room. Mu Chichi followed behind Xing Xiao. She looked at his tall figure and suddenly blushed. Her heart raced and she was a little nervous. "I can play tennis now. And I'm pretty good at it," Mu Chichi said to Xing Xiao's back. "But you should be busy and not interested in listening to me." "Oh, I just know that you like it a lot." Xing Xiao turned to look at Mu Chichi after hearing her words. He was sitting on the armrest of the sofa and beckoning Mu Chichi with his finger. Mu Chichi took 2 steps towards him, but he grabbed her by the neck and said, "You don't have to please me. I'm not a member of the Mu family. I won't lose my things." "I'm not a thing," Mu Chichi replied with a frown. "I'm a human." Xing Xiao could not help teasing her. "When I'm done with my work, I'll bring you out to play. If you don't do well, there will be a punishment." "What punishment?" "You'll know when the time comes. You still have school tomorrow. Go to sleep." Xing Xiao let go of Mu Chichi and urged her upstairs. "Also, you did not do well this time. But your target is not Mu Tongxue. It's yourself." Mu Chichi took a deep breath when she saw Xing Xiao's handsome and charming side profile. She was afraid that she would forget to breathe. "Then I'm going to sleep, okay?" Xing Xiao nodded. He still had to go home after seeing the little girl. After that old man recovered, he would return to his carefree life. It had been a long time since he went skiing in New Zealand. He could consider bringing the little girl along when the time came. Xing Xiao left the little mansion. He thought that Mu Chichi had gone to bed. But Mu Chichi hid at the corner of the stairs. She waited until he disappeared before returning to her room and jumping onto the soft bed. Because she felt that she and Xing Xiao had gotten a little closer. This made her almost ecstatic. Mu Chichi slowly became one with her classmates, becoming lively and cheerful in just 3 months, becoming a top student in the eyes of her classmates. As long as one wanted to learn all kinds of martial arts, one could endure hardships that others could not. But that was not enough. For Xing Xiao, the Mu Chichi he wanted to see was someone who would look up at others, who could say no to anything she didn't like, and who had to walk with her head held high. At the same time, Xing Xiao knew very well that Mu Chichi must be confident enough if she wanted such pride, and he must give her that confidence. The Mu family had hurt her too much and she was too worried about her gains and losses. It was obvious that she was afraid that Xing Xiao would abandon her again. Soon the entire country would welcome another mock exam. This time Mu Chichi was even more prepared. With a strong foundation, she successfully made it to the top 15 in the country, far surpassing Mu Tangxue. Su Zipei was all smiles for a long time after she saw Mu Qiqi's results. Still, it was a pity for Mu Qiqi that Xing Xiao was nowhere to be seen after the day she met him and said that he would take her out to play basketball. Papa Sheng's condition worsened, and he was even given a critical condition notice. Mu Qiqi learned all that from the news, which was why she did her best not to disturb Xing Xiao. At night, under the soft light, Mu Qiqi looked at the results of the mock exam. It was not just her results, she could have done better than Mu Tangxue in many other aspects. Still, if she had not deliberately hid herself and performed better than Mu Tangxue in the Mu family, would she still be abandoned? This time, Mu Tangshue's results had slipped a little compared to last time. When she saw the ranking and saw that Mu Qiqi had suddenly climbed to 15th place, she felt uncomfortable, even though there was no way that Mu Qiqi was her sister. Even so, Mu Qiqi's name made her very uncomfortable. Later, Mama Mu entered the room and found her spacing out. She quickly asked, "Why aren't you resting, Tangxue?" "Mom, I want to transfer to Eton." "Can I?" "Why would you want to transfer out of the blue? Aren't you happy at Van Gogh?" Mama Mu asked tenderly. "Are you being bullied?" "Mom, just say yes. I want to go to a better school." "You child, Eton isn't a place you can get in just because you want to. You should at least wait for your father and see if it's okay." Mama Mu said helplessly. "Silly child, are you being bullied at school because of what happened to your sister?" Since Mu Tangxue couldn't find an excuse, she went with the flow since Mama Mu said so. "I know, Mom. It's not my sister's fault. All right, I'll talk to your father now. You should get some rest." After Mu Qiqi's incident, the Mu family's love for Mu Tangxue had reached its limit. In fact, it was a form of guilt towards Mu Tangxue, although they would not say it out loud. Perhaps they were afraid of retribution, and thought that treating Mu Tangxue better would make up for their sins. Whatever the case may be, Mu Tangshue's goal was achieved. When Papa Mu learned about his daughter's thoughts, he promptly called his secretary and had her make the arrangements at Eton. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi was now an influential figure in the academy. Even though it had only been a short 4 months since she transferred to this school, Mu Qiqi was now very confident in chatting and laughing with her classmates, unlike before when she had to stand behind Mu Tangxue. Soon there was a reply from Eton, and Mu Tangxue offered to visit Eton with the secretary. Mama Mu wanted to accompany her that day, but Mu Tangxue refused. "Mommy, I'm just going for a tour. My secretary is with me so I won't get lost. Don't worry, just do your own things." Mommy won't care about you? Mama Mu was certainly going to the gathering of the rich ladies. Yes, all right. Having planned everything, Mu Tangxue entered Eton's campus with the secretary's arrangements. There was another Mu Qiqi there, which was troubling her. Moreover, when she looked at the ranking list, she noticed that Mu Qiqi was in class 3. She really wanted to see who this person was. Chapter 10. Mu Qiqi was in her math class at the moment. The teacher was a very capable young foreign teacher, and he was teaching them some difficult math problems today. Of course, his main purpose was to test how difficult the students in the class could solve it. Mu Qiqi was sitting in the middle of the class, twirling a pen in her hand, her expression relaxed and confident. "The next question is calculus. It's seriously beyond the syllabus and no one could solve it, right?" the teacher said exaggeratedly as he wrote. "If any of you have seen it before, it would be incredible." The students in the class began to look at each other. Still, it was not a big deal that they had seen it before. After all, many of them were taking university courses ahead of time. "Is no one going to raise their hand?" the teacher asked. "This is the time to show off your ability. Can you? I've seen it before but I can't. It's so difficult. No one could do it, right?" None of them noticed a figure standing outside the small window. Her gaze was burning, but it was always locked on one person. It was her own sister, Mu Qiqi. How was that possible? What was going on? Didn't that beast of an uncle sell her off? Why was she sitting in this classroom, receiving a higher level of education than her own? That was when Mu Qiqi suddenly raised her hand and asked the teacher, "Can I try?" Everyone looked at Mu Qiqi in surprise. Could she even solve such a question? Come to the front," the teacher told her. Mu Qiqi rose from her seat confidently and walked to the blackboard, taking the chalk the teacher handed her. Then she wrote down a series of equations on the blackboard. "You're too good at bluffing, teacher. The core of calculus is also a function, so pay attention to this question. We can solve it. Where's your applause?" As expected of the first in class. I've finally fallen in love with your class. The teacher said humorously. That's a sense of achievement. Mu Tongxue looked at the question on the blackboard. Mu Qiqi could solve it, but she could not. Moreover, Mu Qiqi had changed too much. Where was the Mu Qiqi who was always scolded in math class? Her sister probably didn't know anything. Her studies were at the bottom of Van Gogh. And not the Mu Qiqi who could solve calculus. No, she could not believe it. This must all be an illusion. Perhaps Mu Qiqi sensed someone outside the window. When she got off the podium, she turned around and saw a figure outside the window. Their gazes met, and in that instant, sparks flew. Mu Qiqi saw Mu Tongxue too. There was surprise in her eyes, but she quickly calmed down and returned to her seat with a confident smile. Mu Tongxue was deeply shocked. Was that still Mu Qiqi with that confident and slightly boastful expression? Wasn't Mu Qiqi her shadow? She was the center of attention wherever he went. But now, obviously, that was not the case. No, Mu Tongxue couldn't believe it. She wouldn't believe it. Qiqi, you're good. You can even answer such a difficult question. Mu Qiqi's heart was pounding when she heard her classmates' envious voices. She never thought that Mu Tongxue would learn that she was at Eton under such circumstances. Still, the scene just now must have left Mu Tongxue in shock. It was not hard to feel it from her stunned expression. Despite her delight, Mu Qiqi was also a little worried. There was no telling what they would do to her if Mu Tongxue told the Mu family that she was at Eton. But one day this moment will come. When she turned to look out the window again, she was gone. Mu Qiqi called Su Zipei right after class. Aunt Zipei, I saw Mu Tongxue today. What? She went to Eton? She didn't talk to you? Why would she go there? I don't know. I'm just telling you. In that very moment, she only had to prepare herself mentally. No matter what the Mu family would do, she would fight them to the bitter end. If push comes to shove, it would be a life-and-death struggle. Either way, her ultimate goal was definitely not to return to the Mu family. After some thought, Mu Qiqi sent Xing Xiao the news that she saw Mu Tongxue at school. I don't want to trouble you, but I saw Mu Tongxue at Eton. I don't know what the Mu family would do next. Meanwhile, Xing Xiao had just finished a private meeting. When he saw the message, he only replied, "Study hard." Then he called out to Jing Yun. "Go to Eton." "What is it, young master?" Jing Yun was tidying up his documents. "Mu Tongxue is at Eton. Go and find out what's going on." "Young master, business is more important." Xing Xiao glared at Jing Yun coldly at that. "I think I should get a new assistant." "I'll go at once," Jing Yun quickly said. Even so, Jing Yun had never wanted Xing Xiao and Mu Qiqi to have too much contact. In fact, he believed that Mu Qiqi's arrival would have a great impact on Xing Xiao. For example, a single text from Mu Qiqi would have Xing Xiao put down whatever he was doing and solve her problem first. Be that as it may, Jing Yun went to Eton as Xing Xiao told him, and learned that the Mu family was there because Mu Tongxue wanted to transfer schools. Mu Tongxue had just left with Papa Mu's secretary when Jing Yun arrived. Jing Yun then called Xing Xiao to report the situation. Xing Xiao laughed devilishly at his words. "It won't be easy for her to get into Eton. Contact the principal and tell him my stance." She had oppressed Mu Qiqi before, and now she knows that her sister is in Eton and she can't get in. How sad would she be when her sister, whom she had always trampled beneath her feet, suddenly flipped over. "I'm the happiest to see others suffer." "Understood," Jing Yun replied and did as Xing Xiao told him. Why would the principal of Eton accept Xing Xiao's stance? That was because the two families had a cooperative relationship in other industries. Although the Mu family was also a prominent family, there were many prominent families in Jianchuan, weren't there? It was true that Mu Tongshua's soul had left her body when she left Eton, and she had suffered a huge blow. Her sister, who should have been sold off, had suddenly appeared in a higher academy, with better results and more attention than her. The very thought of it left her heartbroken. She really wanted to know what was going on. Even so, he could not just tell his parents about it. Otherwise, wouldn't everything have been for naught if they brought Mu Qiqi back? Chapter 11. What's wrong, miss? Papa Mu's secretary asked. I'm fine, uncle. Is the paperwork done? Almost done, the secretary replied. Mu Tongxue had thought that she could enter Eton and slowly get to the bottom of the matter, but she didn't know that Eton had suddenly hung up on her and called Papa Mu's office directly. What? My daughter can't transfer? But that's not what you said before. Papa Mu was furious. I don't care. Don't you want money? I have plenty of it. It's not about money, Mr. Mu. It's just that the slots are full. We're really sorry that the registrar's office made a mistake. I'm doubting the reputation of Eton Academy. I'm really sorry for disturbing you. Eton Academy did not care at all. Papa Mu felt humiliated, but what could he do if they did not let him in? Moreover, Van Gogh was not bad. Hence, he called his wife and told her that Mu Tongxue had failed to transfer. Mama Mu was surprised, but accepted the truth and returned home from the gathering. When Mu Tongxue reached home, she told her, "Shue, I got a call from your father. He told me that Eton is full, so there's no way to transfer." Mu Tongshue's face fell at the news. No, the secretary had just told her that the paperwork went smoothly. Why did things change in such a short time? It must be Mu Chichi. Mu Chichi must be stopping her from going to Eton. Mommy, but I really want to go. Come on, your father has tried his best. Van Gogh is fine too, and you're about to take your exams. You still need time to adjust to the transfer. Mu Tongxue could not tell her family about it and could only pout and cry as she returned to her room. She wasn't upset because she couldn't transfer to another school. Instead, she was upset because Mu Chichi could attend a better academy than her. No, she did not want this. She did not want her sister, who was chased out of the house, to have a better life than her. At that thought, Mu Tongxue wanted to meet Mu Chichi in person, but she could not let her family find out. That was why she slipped out of the house when Mama Mu wasn't looking, and sat down at a cafe outside Eton's gates. She wanted to ask Mu Chichi herself. Naturally, Mu Tongshue's appearance was very sudden for Mu Chichi as well. She was forcing herself to stay calm, and in fact she was very nervous inside. Because she did not want to return to the Mu family and be bullied by Mu Tongxue again. Most importantly, she didn't want to have nothing to do with him. She really wanted to tell him how she felt, but she knew that he was the crown prince of Huangyao and had no time to care about such trivial matters. But she really wanted to. As such, Mu Chichi wrote down her worries in her diary. At the very least, it would give her some peace of mind, and she would pretend that she had told Xing Xiao those words. She would never know that her dear little sister was waiting at Eton's gates. After handling the day's work, Xing Xiao looked up at his expensive watch. "Young master, the guests from Italy have returned today, and the Earl of England has also decided on a date to meet you. He has confirmed that he wants the love of Hera as a gift for his first wedding anniversary with his wife." Jing Yun was even telling him about his upcoming schedule in his ear. However, Xing Xiao simply closed his calendar. "I'm leaving now." But, Xing Xiao rose to his feet and promptly untied his blue-striped tie. "I won't show up at Huangyao tomorrow if you stop me." Jing Yun promptly shut his mouth. He knew his young master's temper very well. When a demon rose, he would not give face to anyone. "Where are you going then?" "Don't follow me. Let me catch my breath." Xing Xiao went to the small mansion. He had eaten Su Zipei's cooking once, and there was a simple and comforting taste to it. Mu Chichi was in school at the time, which was why he did not let her know. Today he wanted to experience it again. Just as the chauffeur was about to pick up the girl, Xing Xiao opened the door and got into the car. "Young master, don't mind me. Let's go." Xing Xiao unbuttoned his shirt and sat in the back seat. Old Lin was taken aback but kept his focus on driving. Soon, the car stopped in front of Eton's gates, and Mu Chichi and her classmates stepped out of the school gates. However, just as Old Lin was about to get out of the car to welcome them, another girl wearing a hat stood in her way. Xing Xiao saw it too and stopped Old Lin. "Don't move." Mu Chichi saw Old Lin's car from afar, and naturally saw Mu Tongxue appearing in front of her. To avoid drawing attention, Mu Tongxue deliberately lowered her hat. "Sis, let's talk. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Mu Chichi's heart was pounding. In the past, she would have followed Mu Tongxue because if she didn't, Mu Tongxue would put on an act at home and accuse her of bullying her. Then she would be scolded by her parents. Perhaps Mu Tongxue believed that Mu Chichi should obediently follow her. That was why she promptly turned to lead Mu Chichi back to the cafe. It was only natural for her to do so. Mu Chichi was indeed behind her, but when she entered the cafe and turned, she found that Mu Chichi had gotten into the black Mercedes, completely ignoring her. "Who cares about you?" Mu Tongxue froze where she was. She was actually ignored by Mu Chichi? Moreover, it was completely naked. Mu Tongxue clenched her fists. It shouldn't be like this. What went wrong? Meanwhile, Mu Chichi was shocked to see Xing Xiao when she got into the car, before her eyes filled with delight. "Why are you here? How could I see your cool side if I didn't come?" "Oh," Xing Xiao praised. "Your reaction just now deserves a reward. I'm not a member of the Mu family now, so it depends on my mood whether I go with her." After 4 months of tempering, Mu Qiqi's state of mind had changed dramatically. She was no longer someone else's shadow, she was herself. You're finally showing some of the Sheng family. But you're not going to make me public, are you? Mu Qiqi asked. And, even now, I don't know what identity I'm using to receive your protection and favor. Come to think of it, I'm the daughter of my enemy. And what? Sheng Xiao looked at Mu Qiqi playfully as if he knew everything she was thinking. You don't know who you are. Chapter 12. There was light and hope in Sheng Xiao's eyes as he looked into Mu Qiqi's, but he smiled devilishly in return. Then how do you want me to treat you? Mu Qiqi froze, because Sheng Xiao threw the question right back at her. I asked first. What else? Of course I would treat you like a sister. Old Lin suddenly interjected cheerfully from the front seat. That was because he was driving and could not see the feelings in Mu Qiqi's eyes for Sheng Xiao. It was not the feelings of family or friends. Sheng Xiao seemed to understand, but he did not express his feelings, showing neither disgust nor fondness. Hence, the topic ended with Old Lin's interjection. Mu Qiqi was actually afraid that Sheng Xiao would notice something, but she was also afraid that he would not notice it. How could Sheng Xiao not see through her girlish thoughts that were written all over her face? Even so, Sheng Xiao was not a man of morals. He would always act according to his mood. That was why if he really cared about the little one, he would not care about any conditions or obstacles from the outside world, and everything would go according to his heart. At least for now he enjoyed Mu Qiqi's reliance on him. What had he not seen in a world of flowers? Still he would rather stay close to the whiteness. Of course, it was easy for him to directly read Mu Qiqi's reactions and feelings. Still it was very unfair for Mu Qiqi. She was afraid, worried, and could only hide her thoughts. She was even testing Sheng Xiao's bottom line bit by bit. That was why she was upset, but Sheng Xiao was very pleased. It's been so long, but I still don't know what to call you. Mu Qiqi thought for a long time before saying quietly. I don't want to call you brother. What else can I call you if not big brother? Old Lin interrupted again. Mu Qiqi was almost in tears. Can't you drive properly, Old Lin? Sheng Xiao smiled discreetly after enjoying the little girl's expression. What do you want to call me? Tell me. Do I get to call you whatever I want? I want to call you Xiao Xiao. Would you? Mu Qiqi thought to herself. Just call me Brother Xiao in front of others. Sheng Xiao said on his own, meaning that she could do whatever she wanted behind their backs. However, Mu Qiqi couldn't tell what he was trying to say at the moment. For now, Sheng Xiao's suggestion was the most reasonable. And Mu Tangxue came to me just now. Mu Qiqi, do you need me to repeat myself? I've said it before, I won't throw away my things. Sheng Xiao's side profile looked even more handsome under the setting sun. He was confident, flamboyant, and devilish, but it was this side of him that captivated Mu Qiqi. As a result, it was deeply rooted in the heart of a girl who hadn't even reached the age of 18. She wasn't sure that she liked him 100%. At the same time, she knew that this feeling was unusually dangerous, but she just couldn't control herself. And Sheng Xiao's reaction showed that he did not intend to let her control him. No, I'm just worried that Mu Tangxue will play tricks. So, do you think her tricks will work on me or you? At the moment, Mu Tangxue's tricks were ineffective against everyone. Only those idiots in the Mu family would believe it. After returning to the little mansion, Sheng Xiao stayed for dinner before driving away. Mu Qiqi's heart raced and she couldn't rest for the entire night. Therefore she recorded all of this in her diary. It filled her with courage and gave her a goal to move forward. On the other hand, Mu Tangxue was flustered and exasperated after being rejected by Mu Qiqi. However, she would hide in her room and always put on a gentle and considerate front in front of others, never wanting to cause trouble for anyone. She really didn't expect that Mu Qiqi had become so arrogant. Mu Tangxue couldn't imagine the past, because the gap between them would only be greater. No, she had to find a way to find out what happened to Mu Qiqi. But now she had a choice, she had to tell her parents. If she let Mu Qiqi keep being so smug, her parents would learn of her existence sooner or later, and be surprised by her change. Now it was better to strike first. At that thought, Mu Tangxue forced out a few tears and knocked on Mama Mu's door. Mommy, are you there? What's wrong, dear? Mama Mu quickly opened the door. Mu Tangshua's eyes were red, and she threw herself into Mama Mu's arms. Actually, I saw my sister in Eden today, Mommy. How? Mama Mu's eyes widened and she pushed Mu Tangxue away. Did you see wrong? Wasn't your sister. How could I see wrong? It was like we were looking in a mirror, Mu Tangxue cried. Mu Tangxue cried. But she completely ignored me when I talked to her and what? Mama Mu pressed. She said that I'm the one who hurt her so badly, and that she wants to kill me. Mommy. Mu Tangxue was crying her heart out, and no one could help but feel sorry for her. Did your sister really say that? Mama Mu's heart was clenched. My sister has become so terrifying. Is she coming back for revenge? No, Mom and Dad wouldn't let that happen. But you have to let us know what's going on, Tangxue. Well, should we tell Daddy? Mu Tangxue asked, tilting her head up. We'll investigate in secret. Your aunt changed her number for some reason and vanished from the face of the earth. Mama Mu had been hoping to get some information from Su Zipei, but both her daughter and her husband were nowhere to be found. She had no way of knowing whether Mu Qiqi had been sold, or what had happened to her. Mu Tangxue knew that she had achieved her goal when her mother wanted to investigate Mu Qiqi. After all, she knew very well how weak her mother was. As long as she put on a good show, it would be impossible for Mu Qiqi to return to the Mu family. Perhaps Mu Qiqi had become like that because she wanted to return to the Mu family? In fact, Mu Qiqi no longer wanted to stay at the Mu family. She wouldn't move her noble legs even if everyone in the Mu family knelt before her. As expected, Mama Mu did not dare to tell her husband, and could only privately hire a private detective to investigate why Mu Qiqi was uneaten. The private detective spent a few days and took many photos of Mu Qiqi. Finally, he gave Mama Mu a set of information. Chapter 13. Mama Mu unraveled some of her doubts after reading through the information, only to have a new one emerge. No wonder Su Zipei could not be contacted. She was sponsored by a rich man. But how did a poor person like her and an abandoned child get to know such a rich man? To know the whole truth, Mama Mu decided to visit her sister at the little mansion. Soon Mu Tangxue learned why Mu Qiqi was uneaten. It turned out that she was sponsored by a rich man. But her aunt's neighbor had said that he saw Mu Qiqi being sold with his own eyes. In other words, Mu Qiqi might have been sponsored by the French through improper means. Mu Tangxue smiled again at that thought. She had thought that Mu Qiqi would use some method to rise to the top, but she did not expect it to be so filthy. Still, how could she let Papa know that Mu Qiqi had sold herself for riches? In the afternoon, Mama Mu drove to the suburbs with the address of the little mansion. The security guards would not let her in, but they could help her inform them. Su Zipei did not expect that Mama Mu would come to her so soon. Still, there was nothing to be afraid of because she was firm in her stance. All she wanted was for Mu Qiqi to live a good life, and she could clearly feel Mu Qiqi's happiness while she was with the Sheng family. What if she returned to the Mu family? Su Zipei smiled coldly. Would she let you torture her again? After tidying up a little, Su Zipei arrived at the entrance of the mansion. She did not greet her sister as enthusiastically as before. Zipei, let's go to a cafe nearby. Forget about the cafe. Let's talk here. I still have to make dinner for Mu Qiqi. Su Zipei opened the door of Mama Mu's car and got in. What is it? Mama Mu smiled bitterly. She did not expect Zipei to be so cold towards her and smiled bitterly. You're blaming me for not helping Mu Qiqi. Su Zipei said nothing and looked straight ahead. You know your brother-in-law's temper? You don't have to explain that to me. If you weren't so afraid of turning back into a sparrow, you wouldn't have kept quiet when your own daughter was chased out of the house. Su Zipei said coldly. They're twins, but Mu Qiqi was chased out by her own parents. Zipei, you don't have to call me or look for us. Mu Qiqi is doing quite well now. From now on, she won't eat from the Mu family's food or use your money. You should be satisfied. What more do you want from someone else? Su Zipei's words were a little overboard. Mu Qiqi was a little angry. I don't know how it happened. Mama Mu covered her face and leaned on the steering wheel. I didn't want it to happen, but Qiqi killed her grandmother. Do any of you have any evidence to prove that old Madame Mu was killed by Qiqi? Just because Tangxue said so? Speaking of this, Su Zipei sneered even more coldly. Tangxue wouldn't lie. Then Qiqi knows how to lie? Forget it, this difference in treatment isn't just a matter of a day or two. Since Mu Qiqi isn't in the Mu family now, if you still have a conscience, don't disturb Mu Qiqi's life. She has nothing to do with the Mu family anymore. With that, she was about to get out of the car when Mama Mu stopped her. Zipei, don't go. Have you ever thought about what your brother-in-law would think if he knew about this? What? Are you saying that Mu Qiqi can't be subsidized to appease the Mu family? Don't tell me that Qiqi deserves to be poor and sold? Is that what you want? Seeing that Mama Mu was speechless, Susie Pei smiled and opened the door. There's a saying that the weak do the worst. From now on, I don't have you as my sister anymore. Please don't come here again, and I won't see you again even if you do. With those words, Susie Pei got out of Mama Mu's car. She had become a little stronger under Xing Xiao and Mu Qiqi's influence. She had been so patient before, but what she got in return was endless harm and deception. So why should she endure? That was why Xing Xiao's taking Mu Qiqi and had not only changed Mu Qiqi's fate, but Susie Pei's as well. Mama Mu felt aggrieved at Susie Pei's words. Her husband didn't understand her difficulties at home, and her sister didn't understand her hardships when they were outside. After all, in her heart, Mu Qiqi was a child of the Mu family. She would always obey the Mu family no matter who helped her. Whether it was killing her grandmother or being chased out by the Mu family, it was a family scandal that could affect the Mu family's stocks. If she didn't handle it well, her husband would definitely come after her. But now, Susie Pei wouldn't listen to her at all. That was why she broke down and cried in the car. But would Susie Pei even care? Susie Pei would only find it ridiculous. Who did the Mu family think they were? Emperors? And everyone would obey them? Mu Qiqi's life was so bitter and miserable. It wasn't easy for her to have someone to take care of her, and yet the Mu family was afraid that Mu Qiqi's matter would affect them if it got out? Were they hoping that Mu Qiqi would live and die as the Mu family dictated? Although Susie Pei felt that her thoughts were vicious in that very instant, she really did think that way. She wanted every member of the Mu family to die. Mu Qiqi knew nothing about all that. All she knew was that her aunt gave her a big hug when she got home. What is it, Pei? From now on, no matter how the Mu family comes to you, begs you, or interferes with you, don't lower your head to them. Stick close to young Master Sheng regardless of their feud or grudges. I only hope that you can live a happy life. Mu Qiqi was very sensitive despite her young age, and could guess why her aunt would say such things to her. Also, why did she hate the Mu Jia so much? Don't worry, Aunt Pei. I won't leave even if Brother Xiao chases me away. I'll make a name for myself and make the Mu family see me in a different light. I didn't know you two had such hobbies. Sheng Zhao's demonic voice suddenly spoke from beside them. The great crown prince of Huangyao was actually always freeloading off an orphan and a widow's house. Young Master Sheng. Susie Pei let go of Mu Qiqi and quickly greeted him respectfully. Mu Qiqi, go to your homework. Xing Xiao told her directly. Mu Qiqi nodded obediently, since Xing Xiao wasn't going to leave now anyway. Then I'll cook. Susie Pei promptly headed to the kitchen, and Xing Xiao followed her, leaning against the door frame to confirm with her. The Mu family came in the afternoon? You knew? Susie Pei asked in surprise. I've had Jing Yun inform the security guards. Xing Xiao said directly. Chapter 14. After dinner, Xing Xiao left the little mansion, and Mu Qiqi walked him to the door with her papers. Be careful on your way home. You've come today, but there's no telling when you'll come again. Xing Xiao did things as he pleased and never prepared for others. Mu Qiqi hoped that she could see him often, but she knew that it was just wishful thinking. Go back to your room. Don't read all the time or you'll become a bookworm. With that, Xing Xiao got into his car and drove away. Mu Qiqi pursed her lips and sighed. Turning around, she returned to her room and continued studying under the night light. In fact, Xing Xiao did not leave. He was sitting in his car, watching as Mu Qiqi's room was lit with a yellow night light. When Jing Yun told him that he did not bring home a cat or a dog, Xing Xiao thought that he, the crown prince of Huangyao, would not be unable to take care of a girl. But after what Susie Pei said to him today, he realized that he would slowly become the center of Mu Qiqi's life. And would he really be able to endure such restraint after being used to freedom? After watching for half an hour, Xing Xiao finally drove away. After all, he felt that he needed a clearer definition of himself. Mama Mu was distracted when she returned home. She did not know how to tell her husband about Mu Qiqi's sponsorship. Papa Mu could not help scolding her when he saw her return dejectedly. Where did you go? Why aren't you preparing dinner? I'll go now. Mama Mu took off her coat and quickly went to the kitchen. That was when Mu Tongxue saw her mother's face. She knew that she must have suffered quite a blow, and so quietly entered the kitchen to ask Mama Mu, Mommy, what did Aunt Pei say? Don't mention it. Your aunt gave me a scolding. So, it was not just Mu Qiqi who thought that she had ascended to the top. Did Susie Pei think that she had become a phoenix too? Mommy, why don't you tell Daddy about this? Otherwise, he'll blame you again when things get out of hand. Mu Tongxue suggested very considerately. Mama Mu never had a mind of her own and was afraid of taking responsibility. Still, she decided to listen to her daughter's suggestion and tell her husband about Mu Chichi. Hence, after dinner, Mama Mu brought the documents to Papa Mu's study. "Didn't I tell you that you can't enter the study?" Papa Mu raised his head and scolded. "I just want to discuss something with you." With that, Mama Mu handed the documents to Papa Mu. "I had asked Zipe to look after Chichi after she was chased out of the house. But I don't know what happened. Chichi was sponsored by a rich French man and she's studying at Eton." Papa Mu did a double take after listening to Mama Mu's description. He took a look at the documents and flew into a rage. "Ridiculous. Do you think there's no one in the Mu family? I'm educating my daughter who dares to interfere. Hubby, are you saying that you want Mu Chichi back? But have you ever considered that your brothers are eyeing your position covetously?" Papa Mu could only suppress his anger after being reminded. He paced back and forth in his study. "Have you looked for Mu Chichi? Do you think she's enjoying someone else's food? She's a traitor and she's studying at Eton in such a high-profile manner. People would think that the Mu family can't even afford to raise a daughter if they find out. What do we do now?" Mama Mu asked. Papa Mu thought for a moment and told Mama Mu, "Bring her back and let your sister take care of her." That was probably the biggest concession Papa Mu could give Mu Chichi. "But Zipe might not listen to me now and Chichi might not come back either. It's not up to her. I'm her father legally and her guardian." Papa Mu snorted. "I'm so angry. That rebellious girl has never done anything good since she was born. Contact them tomorrow and bring her back." Papa Mu had given a strict order, and the whole family certainly did not dare to disobey. Mu Tongxue never thought that things would end up like that, which was why she was very sad when Mama Mu returned to her room. "Mommy, would my sister really take revenge if she comes back? I'm scared." "Don't be scared, dear. Your father told me to let your aunt take care of your sister, so don't be scared." Mu Tongshua's lips curled at Mama Mu's words. It was best if that was the case. She would like to see how Mu Chichi would flaunt her grades in front of her now. Meanwhile, Mu Chichi was still buried in her studies under the night lamp. Not long after, Su Zipe entered her room and sat by her bed. "Chichi, Mu Chichi turned to look at Su Zipe. "What is it?" "At Zipe? Your mother came to me today." Su Zipe decided to tell Mu Chichi the truth. "But we didn't get anything out of it, and from what I know of your mother, she would definitely tell your father about you." "I see, you know your father's temper. It's very likely that he will take you back just like that. How could he tolerate his weakness being exposed to the public? He would love to have you right under his nose." Su Zipe said quietly. "I know." Mu Chichi's mood suddenly hit rock bottom. "I just want you to be mentally prepared." With those words, Su Zipe stroked Mu Chichi's head. "Don't stay up too late. Sleep early." Mu Chichi was panicking as she watched Su Zipe leave. She did not want to be taken back to the Mu family just like that, but Papa Mu was her guardian. He had a duty to watch over her and she could not resist. If returning to her former life was not the worst, what was the worst? He would never meet Xing Xiao again. Mu Chichi felt terrible at the thought. She took out her old phone from her pocket and opened the message interface. Xing Xiao had just left. Was she going to trouble him again? But if she didn't bother Xing Xiao, who else could she bother? With that in mind, Mu Chichi sent him a message. "I heard from my aunt that my father might take me back. I'm scared. Can you guarantee that I won't be taken back?" Xing Xiao had just returned to the Xing family's home. He was lying in the bathtub, spacing out as he stared at the scar on his leg. His phone rang and he got up and got out of the bathtub when he saw that it was a message from Mu Chichi. But he did not reply at once. Instead, he poured himself a glass of red wine and sat on the sofa, phone in hand. Chapter 15. Then Xing Xiao dialed Jing Yun's number. "The Mu family is asking for her." "Isn't that how it should be, young master? After all, Mu Chichi is related to the Mu family by blood. Does that mean I'm related to them by blood as well?" Xing Xiao's tone was sinister and dangerous. "What would you like to do, young master?" Jing Yun quickly changed the topic. "Should I give her to them just because they ask for her?" Xing Xiao took a sip of the fragrant red wine and told Jing Yun, "Do those two things tomorrow." With that, Xing Xiao told Jing Yun the specifics of what to do. He did not promise or guarantee Mu Chichi, because he had said that he would not repeat himself a third time. Regardless of what he thought inside, he had brought Mu Chichi home and kept her in the little mansion. He believed that she was his. Giving her to someone else just because he said so? He never knew what it meant to let her go. Even so, Mu Chichi did not get a definite answer from him. She was left feeling restless for the whole night, and it was so uncomfortable to have someone else control her fate. Mu Chichi's face was pale when she woke up the next day, and Su Zipei's heart ached when she saw it. "Silly child, I would never let you go back to the Mu family even if I have to die. What are you thinking about?" And young Master Sheng wouldn't. "But he didn't answer me when I asked him last night," Mu Chichi said dejectedly. "I don't want breakfast, Aunt Zipei. I'm going to school. All right, take the milk with you." Su Zipei stuffed the milk into Mu Chichi's bag. However, the Mu family did not manage to contact the French tycoon who sponsored Mu Chichi. After all, he was not in the country. The Mu family could not go to the little mansion either. It was private property and no one could just barge in. That was why Papa Mu set his sights on Eton, intending to forcibly take Mu Chichi away after school. Having made up his mind, Papa Mu left the matter to his secretary, with Mama Mu accompanying him. Both of them sat in a car and waited by the gates of Eton, watching nervously as students left the school. Soon Mu Chichi walked out of the school. Mama Mu saw her at once and gestured for her secretary to get out of the car and walked up to her. That was when old Lin saw Mu Chichi as well. Xing Xiao had instructed them to take action as soon as someone from the Mu family appeared around Mu Chichi. That was why he gestured to the two bodyguards behind him. Although she was prepared, Mu Chichi froze where she was when her mother suddenly appeared in front of her. "Chichi, Mommy wants to talk to you." Mama Mu gestured for Mu to get into the Mu family's car. Mu Chichi panicked, for she knew that her mother was trying to take her away by force. So, she cautiously moved past Mama Mu, but was caught by the secretary behind Mama Mu. "Xiao Mu," old Mu said and said. "Mu, Xiao Xiao, Mu and Mu Xiao." Soon, the bodyguards in black rushed forward and forcefully dragged Mu Chichi away from the secretary's hands. "Mu. Mu Chi. Mu." Mu said Mu, comma, Mu Mu Mu. Mu I Mu, I Mu Mu I, Mu Mu. Mu Chichi was shaking in fear. She couldn't hold back her fear even as her mother's shadow became smaller and smaller. "Don't worry, Mu Xiao. We're safe now." Old Lin quickly comforted Mu Chichi. Even so, Mu Chichi was furious and hateful, and tears kept falling out of her eyes. Old Lin was forced to call Xing Xiao when he saw that, and Xing Xiao simply replied, "Stop at the corner. I'm right there." Naturally, Xing Xiao couldn't show himself in such a situation, or the Mu family's desire for Mu Chichi would only intensify and keep pestering them. He could handle it, but could Mu Chichi endure that much pain? That was why he simply drove in the dark, and would have made a move if Old Lin hadn't arrived in time. Soon, Old Lin stopped his car in the woods behind Eton, because he saw Xing Xiao's yellow sports car. Then Xing Xiao got out of the car and opened the door to find Mu Chichi in tears. Heart clenching, Xing Xiao promptly left the sports car by the roadside and sat beside Mu Chichi. "Drive, Old Lin." Then Xing Xiao looked at Mu Chichi and told her calmly, "I promise." Mu Chichi understood those 3 words. She had asked him that question last night, but she didn't expect that Xing Xiao would tell her himself. Young Master Xing had always believed that mobile phones were cold machines that could only transmit messages, but not read people's expressions. That was why he would tell her everything that was important. Only then would the people who mattered believe him. Mu Chichi promptly threw herself into Xing Xiao's arms, just as Xing Xiao unbuttoned his suit and wrapped her around his muscular chest. "No one could take you away. Even if they did, I could bring you back." And so, Mu Chichi cried even harder. Even so, she felt a great sense of security, because Xing Xiao's actions made her understand that he would always be nearby no matter what happened to her. Her heart that was hanging in the air was suddenly relieved. "Miss must be scared. It's the first time in my life that I've seen parents who don't deserve to be human." Old Lin couldn't help remembering the scene just now. Just like a human trafficker selling a child. "Are you done crying?" Xing Xiao pushed Mu Chichi away even after a long time when she was still twitching. "Keep a pepper spray with you from now on. Do it directly if it happens again." "What if I damage their eyes?" Mu Chichi was still sobbing. "I'll do it," Xing Xiao said, reaching out to tidy Mu Chichi's messy hair. "You're ugly in the first place. You'll go blind if you keep crying." Mu Chichi couldn't help laughing again. "But the Mu family would come back. You don't have to worry about that. Jing Yun will send a lawyer to handle it." Xing Xiao's expression was rather mysterious. Of course, he had to prevent any future trouble. After all, the little girl was scared to death just once. Going back to the Mu family? Even if the Mu family didn't love her, someone else would. Soon they reached home. Su Zipei quickly came out to welcome them, and Mu Qiqi promptly threw herself into her arms. Aunt Zipei, it's good that you're fine. Su Zipei quickly comforted her. Thank you, young Master Sheng. Sheng Xiao looked at Mu Qiqi but said nothing. But why are you so hot, Qiqi? Su Zipei quickly reached out to touch Mu Qiqi's forehead. Do you have a fever? She didn't sleep last night and didn't eat for the whole day. Moreover, she was exhausted. It would be strange if she wasn't sick. Chapter 16. Meanwhile, Mama Mu and her secretary were scolded by Papa Mu when they returned to the Mu family. What use do you have if you can't even handle such a small matter? Mr. Mu, they were prepared and had men with them. Mama Mu could only accept it. But the secretary knew how to explain herself. I don't believe that I need anyone's permission to take back my own daughter. You might want your daughter back if it was someone else. But that person is Xing Xiao. As long as he doesn't agree to it, you won't take away a single strand of Mu Qiqi's hair even if you have to fight to the death. Papa Mu was infuriated, and ordered his secretary to contact the French magnate. But he did not expect that Jing Yun's lawyer would contact Papa Mu on his own soon. A team of lawyers came straight to the Mu family. Greetings, Mr. Mu, Mrs. Mu. We have been asked by Mr. Henri to deal with Miss Mu's matter. Papa Mu slammed the table and stood up at the lawyer's words. I don't need an outsider to take care of my own daughter. Is that so? The lawyer retorted. Are you sure you fulfilled your duty as a guardian if Miss Mu was sold when we found her before she reached adulthood, Mr. Mu? Moreover, we've investigated Miss Mu's situation in detail. She was chased out by the Mu family. Do you still remember that? So what? I'm educating my daughter. That's right, the daughter is yours. But Mr. Mu, you abandoned your daughter and ignored her for 3 months. In the eyes of the law, this is a crime of abandonment. Don't you know that? Moreover, according to Miss Mu's words, she was abused by you for a long time when she was still with the Mu family. Even if it's not within the law's jurisdiction, who's going to suffer if it's made public? Papa Mu was speechless at the lawyer's words. That was when Mama Mu interrupted. We didn't turn a blind eye to her. We let her aunt take care of her. I'm sorry, Mrs. Mu. That's just what you said. The law wouldn't believe it without evidence. So, you're not going to return my daughter to the Mu family? Papa Mu pressed furiously. Strictly speaking, it's the Mu family who abandoned her. Our client is helping her out of goodwill. The lawyer reiterated. We've already explained the severity of the matter to you and Mrs. Mu. Now let's talk about the solution. First, you want Miss Mu back. But our client doesn't want to see Miss Mu suffer anymore. So, we can only make things worse. The famous CEO of Mu Group has abandoned his own daughter. How much do you think the shares of Mu Group will drop if this news gets out? Moreover, we can apply to the court to take away the parent's guardianship? Do you understand? Mu, Miss Mu. Mu to Mu. Mu. If you sign this agreement, my client will become Miss Mu's new guardian. As long as Miss Mu's rights and interests are protected, we are willing to keep the peace and not make a big deal out of it. That is to say, this matter will not be made public. But at the same time, Miss Mu, you can forget about going back. Our client will be her guardian until she turns 18. If she wants to return to the Mu family, we won't stop her. In fact, both suggestions have the same outcome. But the way to achieve it is different. If you choose the first option, our lawyers won't be afraid of trouble. What do you think? In other words, Papa Mu was being threatened. Moreover, he did not retaliate verbally. He had been caught red-handed. Asking for Mu Qiqi back was equivalent to giving up the management rights of Mu Group. His brothers were not to be trifled with. Still, it was impossible for him to accept it so easily. It's not hard for me to agree to the second condition. I've raised Mu Qiqi until she's 17. Shouldn't you at least give me room to ask for something if you want her back? Papa Mu began to negotiate with the lawyer from a businessman's point of view. What are your conditions, Mr. Mu? Let my youngest daughter enter Eton. Isn't that too much? Otherwise, my legal team is not to be trifled with. Papa Mu's intention was to have Mu Tongxue keep an eye on Mu Qiqi so that she would not cross the line. But the lawyer laughed in return. Mr. Mu, isn't it a hot topic in school for twins to be raised separately? Aren't you afraid of getting yourself into trouble? Since you could come up with a guardianship letter, this little trouble shouldn't be a problem, right? I have to get the client's agreement. Give me a time to make a call. Go ahead. Papa Mu gestured for him to leave. The lawyer conveyed Papa Mu's words to Jing Yun, who promptly contacted Xing Xiao, who was still in the small mansion. Sheng Xiao was in Mu Qiqi's room. "Young master, the Mu family has agreed to let Miss Mu Qiqi go, but you must force Mu Tangxue into Eton. Otherwise the lawyers will see you." Sheng Xiao stared at Mu Qiqi, who was lying on the bed. Her little face was pale and unremarkable. He had wanted Jing Yun to forcefully reply to her, but Mu Qiqi propped herself up and told him, "I can accept it." Sheng Xiao looked at Mu Qiqi with interest. "Aren't you afraid of being bullied?" "As long as I don't return to the Mu family, I would never be afraid of Mu Tangxue." "Then agree to the Mu family's terms." Sheng Xiao replied. As a demon who bullied others since he was a child, no one knew better than Sheng Xiao that to completely build Mu Qiqi's confidence, she would have to turn the tables and trample on those who bullied her. That was why whether Mu Tangshua's trick was ineffective against Mu Qiqi was still a question in itself. "You said it yourself. I won't care if you come crying to me." Mu Qiqi nodded. "That's your territory. Make her act useless from then on, huh?" Mu Qiqi looked at Sheng Xiao determinedly. She was no longer a member of the Mu family from now on, and she would never be bullied or cold-blooded. Moreover, she now had a strong reason and role model. She would certainly pull herself together. Even so, she did not want to lose Sheng Xiao's protection. That was why Mu Qiqi asked tentatively, "You wouldn't let me be bullied either, right?" Sheng Xiao gave Mu Qiqi a long look but did not answer. Instead, he said angrily, "Start training after your fever goes down, run 3,000 meters every morning, not 1 meter less." Chapter 17. Mu Qiqi believed that she would be willing to die if that was not what he had said, but Sheng Xiao's people must be the best in every aspect. Sheng Xiao only tacitly acknowledged that she was his. He did not treat her as a woman. Certainly she was not even 18. Wasn't she too young in every aspect? And with Sheng Xiao's qualifications, there would be countless women lining up in Jianchuan to climb into his bed if he wanted to. Sheng Xiao looked into Mu Qiqi's eyes carefully, studying her inner thoughts before smiling meaningfully. "Rest. I have something to do." "Okay. You go first." Mu Qiqi nodded sensibly, lowering her head to hide the anticipation in her heart. Sheng Xiao rose from the sofa and promptly left Mu Qiqi's room. Although he did not know what the little girl was thinking about, her face was already red enough. Sheng Xiao had to leave immediately because he did not want to keep his eyes on Mu Qiqi. A 17-year-old girl actually made him want to look at her a few more times. Could Sheng Xiao be short of women? After Sheng Xiao left, Mu Qiqi looked down at her figure beneath the blanket. She was so lacking compared to the models. What should she think of to speed up her development? She was clearly going to be 18 soon. Speaking of which, her birthday was less than 10 days away. Perhaps everyone would have beautiful memories on their birthdays, right? But her birthdays were mostly spent with Papa Mu's scolding or family discipline, and her pride being humiliated in front of countless guests. Mu Qiqi's eyes reddened at that thought. It's fine, she's going to be an adult soon. Meanwhile, the lawyer had received Jing Yun's reply. The client had agreed to Papa Mu's proposal and promised not to stop Mu Tangxue from entering Eton. Having regained some of his dignity, Papa Mu waved his hand and let his daughter go. In his heart, there had always been only the obedient Mu Tangxue. Mu Qiqi was a burden to him in the first place, and he couldn't have asked for more when someone was fighting to raise her for him. "Since the contract is signed, I'll go back and report. We'll meet again next time, Mr. and Mrs. Mu." Having accomplished his task, the lawyer quickly left the Mu family's residence with the letter of entrustment. Her daughter was gone just like that. Mama Mu was unwilling, but she did not dare to make a sound. Soon, Papa Mu noticed that Mu Tangxue was hiding in the corner of the living room with one foot exposed. Hence, he relaxed and called out to her, "Come here, Shuer." Mu Tangxue had been good at reading people's expressions since she was young. When she saw how relaxed Papa Mu was, she quickly went to his side and sat down. "Shuer, you'll be our only daughter from now on. I'll give you the best and the most precious. You're my only treasure." Papa Mu patted Mu Tangshue's back. "Daddy? But you have to keep an eye on Mu Qiqi after you enter Eton. Don't let her do whatever she wants." "Do you understand what I mean?" Papa Mu looked expectantly at Mu Tangxue. That was because he knew how intelligent his youngest daughter was. Mu Qiqi had never been a match for Mu Tangxue since she was young. Even if she had left the Mu family now, it would not change much. "I know, Dad." Mu Tangxue nodded. Although Mu Qiqi did not fall into hell, she was at least unable to return to the Mu family. Mu Qiqi was only being sponsored now. But if she kept causing trouble in school, Would the French tycoon still sponsor her? In her dreams, Mu Tongshue's goal in entering Eton was clear. She wanted to continue what she did when she was young, make Mu Qiqi a scapegoat and send her to the 18th layer of hell. I'll get the paperwork done as soon as possible. Thanks, Dad. By the way, our Schwer's birthday is coming. Invite all your classmates to our house for a party. Papa Mu's goal was simple. He wanted everyone to see how he treated the two sisters differently. Mu Tongxue was delighted. It would help her bond with her classmates and pull them to her side. Dad, I want to go to Mu Qiqi's class. No problem. I'll get it done. Mu Qiqi was full of energy the next morning after being sick for a whole night. She was already dressed in her sportswear before the sun rose, and went for a morning jog in the middle of winter. Su Zipei breathed a sigh of relief when she received the guardianship letter. It meant that the Mu family could no longer treat Mu Qiqi as they pleased. That was why Mu Qiqi could live as she pleased now. The only thing that worried Su Zipei was that Mu Tongxue would enter Eton and become Mu Qiqi's classmate. Mu Tongxue was good at acting, but Su Zipei was afraid that Mu Qiqi would fall into her trap just like before. I know what you're thinking, Aunt Zipei. But don't worry, I won't be like before. But if she sets you up, just wait and see. Mu Qiqi replied. After all, she had Xing Xiao now and she was confident. She would not fear whatever move Mu Tongxue would come up with. Then pack up. We're going to school. Okay. Mu Qiqi put on her school uniform and got into old Lin's car. It was only when she got into the back seat that she realized that Xing Xiao was sitting in the back. His head was tilted back and his eyes were closed. It was clear that he was not resting well. Oh, Brother Xiao. Don't say anything. Xing Xiao told her directly. I've sent my car to be repaired and old Lin is taking you to school today. Mu Qiqi, however, did not think so. Jing Yun would think of something if his car was broken. And the Crown Prince of Huang Yao only had one car? Mu Qiqi did not expose him and kept quiet. Even so, her heart was warm because she was not sure if she was imagining things. Xing Xiao was coming to make sure that her fever had subsided. Xing Xiao did not say a word along the way and only spoke when they were close to school. Mu Tongxue will be here today. I know. Mu Qiqi nodded nonchalantly. You're not afraid? I was a little worried that I couldn't handle it at first, but I'm not afraid now that I've seen you. Mu Qiqi said frankly. You are my confidence. Xing Xiao opened his long and beautiful eyes at Mu Qiqi's words, and took out a pen from his pocket, handing it to Mu Qiqi. An amulet. What kind of amulet is that? Mu Qiqi took it, though she was already beside herself with joy. After all, the pen was still warm from Xing Xiao's body temperature. Xing Xiao said nothing and simply told her to press a small switch on it. Mu Qiqi understood at once that the pen had a recording function. I'll use it well. Chapter 18. Mu Qiqi smiled in return, and waved at the people in the car when they reached the school gates. That was when old Lin watched Mu Qiqi's back worriedly and asked Xing Xiao, Young master, aren't you worried? She can handle it. For some reason, Xing Xiao did not doubt Mu Qiqi's determination to become stronger. Let's go. Yes, young master. Old Lin rarely saw Xing Xiao spending his time on anyone and Mu Qiqi was the first. Even if he didn't know what Xing Xiao was thinking, he felt sorry for Mu Qiqi's plight as a father. Many people said that Mu Qiqi's case was inconceivable, but old Lin had seen things that were even more bizarre. The methods adults used to pursue their own interests could be terrifying to the point where one's hair would stand on end. Sometimes, even parents and children would seem weak and helpless in front of such things. He only hoped that everything would go well for Mu Qiqi today. Soon, Mu Qiqi entered her class, prepared to meet Mu Tongxue. As expected, Mu Tongxue did not disappoint her. The homeroom teacher brought Mu Tongxue to class in the first period of the morning, and the entire class was in an uproar. Qiqi, you look almost the same as that transfer student. Is she a sister or a sister? We didn't hear you mention her before. Mu Tongxue looked at Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi did not avert her gaze and simply looked at Mu Tongxue. Then the teacher smiled and introduced, That's right. This is Mu Tongxue, Mu Qiqi's twin sister who just transferred from Van Gogh. Everyone, let's welcome her. Mu Qiqi raised her hand and clapped, but the teacher turned to Mu Qiqi and said, Qiqi, you're in charge of taking care of your sister since she's your sister. Mu Tongxue glared at Mu Qiqi provocatively. Her teacher's words gave Mu Tongxue a reason to stick to Mu Qiqi and bully her like before. But that was when Mu Qiqi suddenly raised her hand and said, I'm sorry, teacher. I think you should move us further away because I don't get along with my sister. Well? The teacher smiled awkwardly. It's fine, teacher. I'll sit here. Mu Tangxue quickly helped her teacher out. That's too much, Chi-Chi. The teacher looked at Mu Chi-Chi reproachfully. Still, he really loved Mu Chi-Chi. That was because Mu Chi-Chi's grades made it impossible for others to be strict with her. Mentor, I'm just giving you a heads up, lest you wonder why I always bully Mu Tangxue. Alright, you're not allowed to bully your sister, okay? The teacher reminded Mu Chi-Chi. Alright, time is of the essence. Let's get back to class. If there's anything else, we'll talk after class. Tangxue, go to your seat. Mu Tangxue walked to her seat meekly, but there was rage in her eyes. After all, Mu Chi-Chi had not listened to her teacher and accepted the task of taking care of her. Moreover, Mu Chi-Chi had blatantly declared that she would bully her. In fact, Mu Chi-Chi had given everyone a heads up because she knew that Mu Tangxue would put on an act and frame herself for bullying her. With that being the case, she might as well tell everyone the truth first. When Mu Tangxue really put on an act, the teacher would only think that she shouldn't have asked her to take care of Mu Tangxue. Moreover, no one would be surprised even if Mu Tangxue really cried and complained. After all, she had already made it clear. She was putting on an attitude that said, I'm bullying you. If you cry, it means you're the one who's trying to provoke me. On the other hand, she had revealed her relationship with her sister on her own accord to prevent Mu Tangxue from sticking to her and framing her. Now that the entire class knew that they were not on good terms, Mu Tangshue's chances of getting close to her would naturally decrease as well. That was the solution Mu Chi-Chi had thought about last night, and it had to be said that it was very effective for Mu Tangxue. Soon, her desk mate asked Mu Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi, why aren't you on good terms with your sister? You'll know in the future, Mu Chi-Chi said meaningfully. Mu Chi-Chi said meaningfully. By the way, Mu Tangxue and I might look alike, but it's not like we can't tell each other apart. Look at my nose, there's a small mole there but she doesn't. Got it. Her desk mate whispered to Mu Chi-Chi. Your sister looks so delicate. You'll know in the future whether she's delicate or not. With those words, Mu Chi-Chi turned and glanced at Mu Tangxue. The fact that the two sisters had transferred to Eton one after the other and were in the same class was something new to the entire class. Everyone had many questions in mind, and were waiting for Mu Chi-Chi to answer them after class. After all, as Xing Xiao had said, this was her turf. 4 months of interaction with her classmates and the foundation of their friendship had not been built for nothing. Mu Tangxue remained patient and obediently sat in her seat. That way, everyone could clearly differentiate between Mu Chi-Chi and Mu Tangxue. One was active, the other quiet. As expected, the two sisters did not have much interaction when the bell rang. Their classmates crowded around Mu Chi-Chi and asked her about Mu Tangxue. I've seen other twins who never separate. You two are so weird, my family is special. Mu Chi-Chi answered naturally. We don't even have the same guardian. Don't you find it even weirder? The students kept nodding their heads. You'll know why in the future. Mu Chi-Chi deliberately kept them in suspense. TSK. Can't you say it all at once? Mu Chi-Chi smiled and played around with her classmates, completely ignoring Mu Tangshue's existence. Mu Tangxue felt upset at Mu Chi-Chi's change. Her former shadow had not only overtaken her, but was also no longer afraid of her threats. How could Mu Tangxue bear that at once? It seemed that she would have to do something ruthless to make Mu Chi-Chi listen to her. With a plan in mind, Mu Tangxue took her tray and sat down in front of Mu Chi-Chi's desk mate. Mu Chi-Chi looked up at her and said, There's someone here. I know, sister. I just want to talk to you alone. Mu Tangxue said softly. Mu Chi-Chi put down her knife and fork, folding her arms as she looked at her. What are you up to now? Can't you protect me like you did when you were with Van Gogh? I still need you like I used to. She had to be the scapegoat. Chapter 19. Come to think of it, sis. How did you get the support of a French tycoon? I heard that you were sold by my uncle. Don't tell me it was some dirty deal? Mu Chi-Chi panicked when she heard that. But she kept her composure. You've already got what you want. We all know that Grandma passed away. Who gave her the wrong medicine? I've already left the Mu family. What else do you want? Mu Chi-Chi was a little worried. I want you to keep protecting me. Either way, I want you to be my shadow for the rest of your life. Mu Chi-Chi stared at Mu Tangshue's confidence and promptly picked up the bowl of porridge and pressed it over Mu Tangshue's head, watching as the sticky stuff slid down Mu Tangshue's head. Of course, the porridge was not hot, and Mu Chi-Chi had taken a few mouthfuls. That's the past. How dare you, Tangxue, show me all your acting skills. I'm looking forward to it. Many people in the cafeteria saw the sisters' sudden outburst, but it was fortunate that Mu Qiqi's shot of adrenaline was working. While the other classes might not know and thought that Mu Qiqi was cool, her classmates saw it with their own eyes. Mu Tangxue had been eating her lunch alone, and it was Mu Qiqi who approached her on her own. Wasn't she asking for a beating if she went forward despite knowing that she did not like her? Then the teacher sent Mu Qiqi to her office and scolded her. Qiqi, I thought you were joking. You really bullied your sister. Teacher, others might not know that I'm sponsored, but you do. The teacher nodded at Mu Qiqi's words. Why is that? Why is there such a huge gap between you and your sister? Teacher, I won't say anything before I have proof. Just think of it as me bullying Mu Tangxue now. Mu Qiqi told her teacher, feeling wronged. After all, she knew that her teacher would only think that she was lying if nothing happened. Be careful of your image. You can't act recklessly even if your results are good. I know, teacher. You fell sick last night. I have medicine here, so tell me if you're not feeling well. The reason Mu Qiqi threw the porridge at Mu Tangxue was because she knew how much their homeroom teacher admired and loved her. The teacher had seen her change step by step from the lack of confidence she had when she first came to class 3 to where she was now. That was why her love for Mu Qiqi surpassed her concern for other students. After that, Mu Qiqi returned to the classroom. That was when Mu Tangxue realized that she had gone to the administration office, thinking that she had been punished. Qiqi, where did you get this medicine? Her desk mate asked. Teacher gave it to me. She heard that I had a fever last night. Mu Qiqi smiled and answered her classmate, which indirectly shattered Mu Tangxue's suspicions. Why would the teacher punish her for Mu Tangxue's sake? Mu Tangxue said nothing but cursed her teacher inwardly. Were all Eton teachers so blind that they didn't know which side to take? However, I heard that you were amazing in the afternoon. That bowl of porridge was directly smashed onto her head. It's time for class. Stop. Mu Qiqi quickly reminded her desk mate. You don't know how amazing she is. Mu Qiqi knew that Mu Tangxue would use this as a pretext to make a fuss. She just had to wait and see when she would explode, and sure enough, the bell rang for the second afternoon class when a student yelled, "Fainted!" The new student fainted. Soon, the teacher was called over and sent Mu Tangxue to the school's hospital. Since it was a noble school, the facilities of the school's hospital were more advanced than those outside. Later, Mama Mu was informed about Mu Tangxue's fainting, and quickly attacked the homeroom teacher. Why did my daughter faint on her first day in school? Don't be angry, Mrs. Mu. Mommy, don't blame the teacher. I was careless. Mu Tangxue quickly defended her teacher as a drama queen. All right, teacher. You can go back to work now. The teacher turned to leave, but did not leave because she heard what Mu Tangxue said to Mama Mu. It was my sister, who smashed my head in the afternoon. You mean Qiqi? Mama Mu's face changed. Was my sister. The teacher smiled coldly at that, and left the school's hospital to return to her post. She thought that she understood why Mu Qiqi did what she did. Still, the Mu family could not do anything to Mu Qiqi since the entire school knew that Mu Qiqi bullied Mu Tangxue. Still, would the Mu family punish Mu Qiqi? That was impossible. Otherwise, people would know that twin sisters were treated differently. The Mu family had always bullied Mu Qiqi, and now Mu Qiqi would repay Mu Tangxue with that. Later, the teacher reprimanded Mu Qiqi in class, since she was already hospitalized. Even so, many students had seen with their own eyes that Mu Qiqi suddenly fainted even though she had splashed porridge on Mu Tangxue. Wasn't that too much? Qiqi, no one would touch your sister in the future. No one would be able to compensate if she suddenly faints. How terrifying. Mu Qiqi's desk mate sighed. How could she come to school with that body? Just stay at home and be a princess. Although the others around them did not know that Mu Tangxue was putting on an act, they at least knew that she was physically weak and could not simply touch her, or they would be the scapegoat. That also meant that the students would not approach the princess on their own. At the end of the day's classes, Mu Qiqi summarized the day's brilliance and was quite satisfied with her performance. After school, Mu Qiqi headed straight for old Lin's car, because she had a feeling that Xing Xiao was there as well. Sure enough, the excuse of fixing the car could be used for days. Meanwhile, Xing Xiao was leaning against the back seat. His handsome face appeared lazy and tired, but his eyes were as bright as amber and shockingly beautiful. Bullied? Mu Qiqi shook her head and took out her notebook. I've written down a plan to deal with Mu Tangxue last night, and I wasn't bullied today. Xing Xiao snatched the notebook from her hand and flipped through her childish plan. I'm confiscating it. Why? Sheng Xiao straightened and looked at her playfully. Because I want you to bully others to become second nature. And not according to a plan. I'm the source of your confidence. The Mu family wouldn't be able to do anything to you even if Mu Tangxue was hospitalized, much less just fainting. So, he knew. Then why did he ask her? Chapter 20. When he saw how excited Mu Qiqi was, Xing Xiao knew that she had found confidence in her retaliation against Mu Tangxue. The little girl had a temper and was worth teaching. Your recording pen hasn't been put to use yet, but I believe it will be useful in the future. Mu Qiqi took out the pen from her bag and held it in her palm like a treasure. You gave it to me especially. Xing Xiao was a little moved at Mu Qiqi's words. There were millions of people who fawned over him in this world, but none of them would worship his pen as a holy relic. Mu Qiqi seemed to treasure every gift he gave her. Xing Xiao said nothing and quietly looked at Mu Qiqi's head. That was when Jing Yun called. Young master, master wants to see you. I'll be right there. Xing Xiao hung up and told Mu Qiqi, rest well when you get home and don't let your imagination run wild. Okay. Hurry up if you have something to do. Mu Qiqi quickly said. Xing Xiao had old Lin drop him off by the roadside and have Jing Yun pick him up. At that, old Lin cheerfully told Mu Qiqi, Miss Qiqi, young master didn't say it, but I could feel that he was worried about you. Mu Qiqi lowered her head and chuckled at that, suddenly feeling that she was very close to Xing Xiao. Xing Xiao's entire aura changed after he got into Jing Yun's car. In front of Mu Qiqi he was relaxed and lazy just like a devil's son. But he was not aggressive at all. Even so, it was a different story in front of outsiders. Anyone who infringed on his rights, no matter who it was, he would send them straight in and out. That was why Xing Xiao's face darkened at once when Jing Yun mentioned that his family was causing trouble in the hospital. Young master, the higher-ups of the company are dissatisfied with the way you handle things. That's why they came to the hospital several times, but master managed to suppress them. What? Dissatisfied? Xing Xiao said coldly. Your ruthless methods have left them with nothing to gain, so they are naturally dissatisfied and want to take advantage of your mistakes. Xing Xiao snorted coldly and entered the ward. Seeing his father lying on the bed, he approached him. Dad. Xing Xiao, why did you suddenly leave in the middle of the meeting? Papa Xing asked. I know you are very capable, but discipline is the most important thing in managing a company. Old man, since you put me in charge, don't ask about my methods, Xing Xiao replied directly. I'll wait for you to be discharged. Papa Xing did not say much and simply gestured for Jing Yun to follow. Jing Yun followed closely behind him and reminded him, Young master, you've been going to the small mansion too often lately. Don't think that I'm really the crown prince just because the outside world calls me the crown prince. You can decide how many times I go to the toilet. Xing Xiao said angrily. It's my freedom to go wherever I want. Young master, I'm just afraid that you'll fall for it. You should know that the Sheng family doesn't have freedom of marriage. Save those words for the other members of the Sheng family. Whoever annoys me, I'll make their entire family unhappy. With that, Xing Xiao turned and left the hospital. Jing Yun sighed. He really couldn't do anything about Xing Xiao. At the same time, he hoped that Mu Qiqi's negligible influence would not make Xing Xiao lose his mind. As a matter of fact, Xing Xiao might appear to be adept at handling relationships between men and women. In fact, that was his domineering style to the outside world, but the truth was that Xing Xiao was a blank when it came to relationships. Countless women would approach him every day, but Xing Xiao would only take a glance at them and then completely despise them. After all, while he appeared to have no lack of luck with women, he was very cautious about relationships. In fact, he valued them more than his own life. Meanwhile, Mu Tangxue had fainted on her first day of classes at Eton. Papa Mu was very concerned about his daughter's health when she returned home, just as he was concerned about Mu Qiqi's movements at school. Tangxue, is your sister causing any trouble at school? No. Mu Tangxue shook her head at Papa Mu. I knew it. Mu Qiqi wouldn't be able to do anything as long as you're here. Go back to your room and rest. Papa Mu thought that Mu Tangxue could still subdue Mu Qiqi, and was very satisfied with her answer. Mu Tangxue knew very well that she had acted weak at home because she wanted her sister to be the scapegoat. But now she had to be a chess piece in her father's hands so that he would give her more attention and love. Mu Tangshue's face turned cold at the memory of Mu Qiqi's humiliation today. She had made a mistake today, and that was all Mu Qiqi had up her sleeve. Did she not know Mu Qiqi? She was a paper tiger. Tomorrow she would start all over again. She would reclaim her dominant position. Mu Qiqi had defeated Mu Tangxue today, and Su Zipei had prepared a sumptuous dinner for her. Mu Qiqi looked at the food on the table. Although she liked it very much, she lost her appetite when she thought about her figure. What is it? Aunt Zipei, isn't my figure a little flat? Mu Qiqi felt a little inferior about it. I'm already 18 but I haven't straightened out here. Why are you suddenly concerned about that? Su Zipei studied her from head to toe. It's fine. There's nothing wrong. Forget it. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Why don't I buy you some nourishing herbs? Sure. Mu Qiqi quickly nodded. Hence, after dinner, Mu Qiqi went to her room to search for information online. She wanted to know how to make a girl's figure more perfect during puberty. What else could it be? Mu Qiqi could not help blushing as she leaned over her computer desk. That was because she wanted to attract Xing Xiao's attention. But when she thought about it, Xing Xiao had helped and protected her, and yet she had thoughts about him that crossed the line. Was that not biting the hand that fed her? Moreover, the fact that Xing Xiao had helped her was enough to upset him. If the Sheng family learned of her existence and their families were enemies, Mu Qiqi felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over her head at that thought, and she suddenly became very clear-headed. She really shouldn't have. However, how could she control such a matter? As such, Mu Qiqi wrote down her thoughts in her diary. It was precisely because of Mu Qiqi's changes that Su Zipei noticed something unusual. That was why she asked old Lin the next morning, "Brother Lin, did you see Mu Qiqi getting close to any boys when she went to school?" Old Lin, who was cleaning his car, thought about it and shook his head when he heard Su Zipei's question. No. What? Chapter 21. Aren't you being too sensitive? Miss Qiqi has been busy dealing with her sister recently. Where would she find the time? Old Lin explained. It would be best if she doesn't. I don't want her to get involved in a relationship too early. Su Zipei said worriedly. Then why don't you tell young master that Miss Qiqi listens to him the most? Su Zipei was not thinking about that at all. All she knew was that Mu Qiqi only worshipped Xing Xiao and treated him like a brother. And the thing that reassured her the most was that Xing Xiao would not be interested in Mu Qiqi. From what she could see, someone like Xing Xiao would prefer hot and direct women, and not a little girl like Mu Qiqi. That's right. I have to warn young Master Sheng. Moreover, it was a matter that could not be delayed. With that thought, she woke him up early in the morning. Holding back his anger, Xing Xiao answered the call. I'm sorry, young Master Sheng. Did I disturb you? Did something happen to Mu Qiqi? Xing Xiao sat up on the big white bed, revealing his sexy, muscular upper body. No, I just have something I want to discuss with you. Tell me. I suspect that Mu Qiqi is in a relationship. Su Zipei told him seriously. Xing Xiao's eyes darkened at that, and he asked Su Zipei in return, why do you think so? She has been paying attention to her figure recently, and has started writing in her diary. Aren't those things a girl in a relationship would think about? Su Zipei told Xing Xiao about her suspicions. I know that Mu Qiqi worships you now even if she doesn't tell me. That is why I would ask you to persuade her to focus on her studies. After all, she has just left the Mu family, and she has to work hard to control her life from now on. Xing Xiao smiled discreetly at Su Zipei's words. That girl thinks a lot. Isn't that so? I'll keep an eye out. Don't worry. Then I'm not worried. Su Zipei breathed a sigh of relief at Xing Xiao's answer. Even so, she did not know that the most dangerous person was right in front of her, even though he was far away. Why did Su Zipei assume that Mu Qiqi's puppy love partner was someone from school? That was because Mu Qiqi had met Xing Xiao many times without letting Su Zipei know, just as she was not aware that Xing Xiao had appeared in old Lin's car. She assumed that Mu Qiqi did not have many ties with Xing Xiao, which was why it was unlikely that it was him. However, Xing Xiao was smiling inwardly after hanging up. For some reason he was in a great mood even though he was woken up early in the morning. The little lass was indeed thinking too much. Pay attention to your figure? From the looks of it, she hadn't figured out his taste. He didn't like hot girls. But when he thought about it, what if the little girl didn't care about him? Xing Xiao's mood turned gloomy when he realized that possibility. If he found out that Mu Qiqi was too close to another boy, at that thought, Xing Xiao quickly got dressed and left the house. After all, he could use the excuse that his car was broken for a few days. Since the little girl was not in school, he had old Lin pick her up, and when Mu Qiqi stepped out of the house, she found the man in the car. The man she wanted to see was the source of all her courage. Your car isn't fixed yet? Muchichi smiled. Muchichi, you haven't forgotten why you came to school, have you? Sheng Xiao suddenly asked Muchichi seriously. Of course I remember. That's good. Actually, that was not what Sheng Xiao wanted to ask. Still, he couldn't just sell Su Zipei out like that. In fact, he just wanted to know if the person Muchichi was looking at was himself. What's wrong? I'm just worried that you're having puppy love in school. Sheng Xiao suddenly became stern. The Mu family has been eyeing you covetously. It's best you give up on that thought as soon as possible. Muchichi quickly lowered her head at Sheng Xiao's words, as if her secret had been exposed. Was puppy love not allowed? Or was puppy love not allowed in school? I don't like anyone in school. Muchichi told Sheng Xiao confidently. So don't worry. I won't have puppy love in school. Okay. Sheng Xiao nodded in satisfaction after getting the answer he wanted. Because he got the answer he wanted, Muchichi did not like anyone in school. Muchichi was being a little petty, because she was only targeting Sheng Xiao's question. Even if she did not have puppy love in school, it did not mean that she did not like anyone outside school. Miss Mu, young master is doing this for your own good. Miss Su is just worried about you. Muchichi suddenly remembered that she had asked Su Zipei about her figure last night. Could Su Zipei have told everyone about it? Why are you blushing? Sheng Xiao's interest was piqued when he saw the change in Muchichi's expression. What's there to blush about with that figure of yours? As expected. Well, I'm getting out of the car now. With those words, Muchichi opened the car door and hurried towards the school gates. Old Lin said to Sheng Xiao when he saw that. See, Miss Muchichi doesn't have such thoughts. You're all thinking too much, young master. He knew better than anyone else whether Muchichi had such thoughts. Still, he had his concerns. What if Muchichi could not hide her feelings one day and everyone around her could tell? What would happen to him then? What's more, he didn't even know if he was just enjoying a little girl's worship. He had never felt such emotions for any woman before. How could he differentiate now? Muchichi did not know that Sheng Xiao's heart was in turmoil as well. She simply covered her pounding heart as she entered the classroom. Why did Aunt Zipei tell a man about such an embarrassing thing? Muchichi found Mu Tangxue, who had arrived earlier than her when she entered the school. When her desk mate saw that, she immediately pulled Muchichi aside and said, "This sister of yours really knows how to please people. She has already bought breakfast for the whole class since early in the morning. Not only that, she even knows what everyone likes and dislikes. If this goes on, everyone will soon be bought over by her." Then why aren't you? Muchichi asked her desk mate in return. I'm your desk mate. What are you going to do if I'm not on your side? Muchichi smiled and patted her desk mate on the shoulder. I know you're good to me and I'll remember your kindness. I say, why is there such a huge conflict between you two sisters? Isn't it obvious that she's targeting you? We've bought breakfast for the entire class but not for you. She's so scheming. You're at a disadvantage. Chapter 22. Still, it must be said that Mu Tangshue's little scheme worked. Her classmates were slowly letting go of their discomfort towards her, wiping away the bad impression they had of her yesterday. Some of them even came up to her to talk to her. Mu Tangxue thought that it had taken Muchichi 4 months to assimilate into the environment, but she would only need 4 days. And when that happens, she would definitely make sure Muchichi would be ostracized by the whole class. Muchichi was aware of Mu Tangshue's plan, but it was only because of her patience and inaction that Mu Tangxue gained that advantage before. Would she tolerate it for nothing now? After class, the homeroom teacher entered the classroom with a name list and smiled at everyone. There's an international mathematical Olympiad coming up in City A, and our school has been asked to recommend 2 students. Fortunately, there's one in our class. I've learned about Mu Tangshue's results, and that the school always sent you to Vango to participate in competitions. You are very experienced. Everyone in the class turned to look at Mu Tangxue. They did not expect her to be so good even though she was so soft and weak. Yes, Professor. Mu Tangxue quickly answered with a smile. Could the teacher be sending her this time too? However, I've checked your results. From what I've seen so far, Muchichi's math results are better than yours. She's also more knowledgeable than you. So this time I've decided to recommend Muchichi to fight for the honor of our class. Do you have any objections? It's not that we have any objections, Professor. Muchichi should be the one doing it, she gets full marks in math. That's right. Muchichi should go with full marks. Her classmates promptly gave their trust to Muchichi. The teacher smiled as well. Then it's decided, you have to work hard, Muchichi. I know, Professor. Mu Qiqi's confidence had been boosted by her excellent grades. In school, good grades were a skill that allowed one to get close to others easily. That was why Mu Tongxue, who had been one of the best in Van Gogh, was pushed out of the top 20 in Eton in an instant. She could not help feeling jealous when she saw Mu Qiqi being admired and envied by the whole class. In the past, Mu Qiqi's grades had always been at the bottom. Unexpectedly, she improved by leaps and bounds in just 4 months. That was when a classmate lowered his head and asked Mu Tongxue, "Is Qiqi that good in Van Gogh?" Mu Tongxue smiled but did not answer. After all, Mu Qiqi was an ugly duckling in Van Gogh. Now that she thought about it, Mu Qiqi's competition was a good opportunity for her to win over her classmates. Moreover, Mu Qiqi would be gone for 2 days. When she came back, she could give Mu Qiqi a big gift. After school, Mu Qiqi was ready to leave when she was called to the teacher's office. "Qiqi, go to City A tomorrow and participate in the competition." "Teacher, do you have something to say to me?" Mu Qiqi was sensitive enough to notice her teacher's intentions. "Do your best. In school I will support you in everything." "I understand." Mu Qiqi nodded and smiled. No matter what her teacher discovered or saw, she was certain that he was now completely on her side. At the very least, not everyone would be bought over by Mu Tongshue's little tricks. When she got home, Mu Qiqi told Su Zipei that she was going to City A to participate in the mathematics competition. Su Zipei was delighted for Mu Qiqi. Our Qiqi is becoming more and more promising. Still, Mu Qiqi knew that she would be away for 2 days. Mu Qiqi knew that Mu Tongxue would wait for an opportunity when she was not in school. That night, Mu Qiqi packed her luggage at home, her eyes never leaving her phone. She felt that she should tell Xing Xiao that she was going to City A, but she also felt that she should not trouble him over such a trivial matter. The next morning, Mu Qiqi left her bag in old Lin's car. It was a pity that she did not see Xing Xiao as she wished. "Will you be all right alone in City A?" Mu Qiqi shook her head in response to Su Zipei's question. "It's fine, Aunt Zipei." "Then come back early." Mu Qiqi then turned and got into the car. Old Lin glanced at her through the rearview mirror and asked, "Miss Qiqi, are you waiting for young master?" "No." With young master's personality, he always comes and goes without a trace. There's no pattern to what he does, which is why you don't have to wait for him. Just tell him if there's anything and make an appointment with him. Mu Qiqi looked down at the phone in her hand at old Lin's words. After some thought, she sent Xing Xiao a message. "I'm going to City A for the competition." All Mu Qiqi wanted was to see Xing Xiao. Even if she could not, she would feel assured just by hearing his voice. As expected, Xing Xiao called her immediately after receiving the message. "Why didn't you tell me yesterday? I thought you were busy and didn't want to disturb you. Where are you staying tonight?" Xing Xiao completely ignored her. He was only worried that there was no one to take care of her when she was alone outside. "The school has arrangements. Don't worry." Mu Qiqi replied. "Do your best." With those 3 words, he hung up because she could tell that he was having a meeting on the other end. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi suddenly felt assured when she heard Xing Xiao's voice. With that, she would have the courage to face any difficulties. Mu Tongxue glanced at Mu Qiqi's desk when she saw that she was absent from school because of the competition. Even now, there were people who kept asking her why she and Mu Qiqi were separated even though they were twins. Mu Tongxue smiled and kept her mouth shut. Soon, however, a student in Van Gogh's campus made a post with an interesting title. "I heard that our bottom-ranking queen has turned things around at Eton." Below the post was a list of Mu Qiqi's demerits in school, as well as her ranking over the years. Soon, the contents of the post spread, with the Van Gogh students who had friends at Eton taking screenshots of the interesting post and showing it to their friends. The eye-catching demerits and bottom ranking piqued everyone's interest in Mu Qiqi, especially her classmates. They were surprised when they saw the post. Mu Qiqi is actually that bad? Isn't she a troublemaker? Her results were so bad before and she even quit school. Did she transfer to Eton because she couldn't make it in Van Gogh? I suspect that she cheated to get such good results at Eton. The entire class was left in heated discussion over the post. Even Mu Qiqi's desk mate was left in disbelief when she saw the post. Was that really Mu Qiqi? Chapter 23. Her desk mate couldn't help sending Mu Qiqi a message. Meanwhile, Mu Qiqi had just finished her competition and was about to return home. "Qiqi, look at the picture I sent you." Mu Qiqi enlarged the picture and saw her various achievements in Van Gogh. Mu Qiqi's heart tightened and she panicked. Where did this come from? It's from Van Gogh. Her desk mate replied. Chichi, were you really like this before? Last place in Van Gogh? And you like to cause trouble? The students are very disappointed in you now, and are even saying that they regret letting you represent the class in the competition. Do you trust me, Chen Chen? Mu Chichi asked her desk mate in return. Of course I trust you. Why else would I tell you? Then wait for me to come back. Don't worry, I'll give everyone an explanation. Mu Chichi said to her desk mate. After that, she looked at her results again. It was indeed not pleasing to her eyes. Moreover, those serious demerits were a stark reminder to Mu Chichi of how much she had been made a scapegoat for Mu Tangxue. Knowing that exposing her in Eton would raise suspicions, Mu Tangxue had someone from Van Gogh expose her and spread the news to Eton. Her younger sister's scheming was no joke. When the teachers at Eton saw the news, they told their classmates not to slander their own classmate. After all, Mu Chichi's current results were clear for all to see. Moreover, Mu Chichi was now fighting for the class. Still, that did not stop the students from gossiping about Mu Chichi. Of course, they would harass Mu Tangxue as well, asking her if Mu Chichi was as bad as she was in Van Gogh. Mu Tangxue would not answer anyone's question. While it appeared as if she was protecting her sister, it was in fact a silent admission. After the competition, Mu Chichi returned to the small Jianchuan mansion from City A. Still, Su Zipei could tell that she had something on her mind. After all, her expression was somber and she asked, "What is it? You look terrible. Did you not do well?" Mu Chichi threw herself into Su Zipei's arms and hugged her. "Aunt Zipei, Mu Tangxue spread the news about my results in Van Gogh to everyone in Eton. Everyone now knows that I was bad in Van Gogh and that I was at the bottom." "Did she really do that?" Mu Chichi sent the message to her aunt. Su Zipei could not help but sigh. "Your sister is really good at acting. Don't be sad, Chichi." "Auntie, I'm not sad. On the way back, I've already thought of a countermeasure. After all, those are all black spots that I can't erase. Since that's the case, I can't hide no matter how hard I try. I should learn to face it. I tried to avoid it before, but now that I've been exposed, it's no big deal." Hearing that, Su Zipei smiled happily. "You've really grown up. You've become more magnanimous and sensible. Auntie, I'll go back to my room to rest. I'm a little tired." "Go, I'll call you after dinner." Su Zipei pushed her to her room. In fact, Su Zipei's heart ached for Mu Chichi. Who would be able to take it if it were someone else? Sighing, she was about to go out to buy groceries and prepare a sumptuous dinner for Mu Chichi when Sheng Xiao entered the small mansion. "Young Master Sheng. I'm taking Chichi out for dinner tonight," Sheng Xiao told Su Zipei. "All right, young Master Sheng. That's good too. I hope she would be happier when she's with you." Su Zipei nodded. Sheng Xiao had already learned from Jing Yun that Mu Chichi's incident at Van Gogh had been exposed by Mu Tangxue. It was clear that Mu Tangxue was quite a talent for her to be so scheming. Then Su Zipei went upstairs to tell Mu Chichi, "Young Master Sheng is here. He's waiting for you downstairs. He said he's taking you out for dinner." "Really?" Mu Chichi asked excitedly. "Really? Get changed and come down." Su Zipei smiled. Mu Chichi quickly nodded and changed into a pink coat that looked more ladylike. She went downstairs because she remembered that the heroines in Korean dramas always acted like that and they looked good in that way too. Sheng Xiao waved her off, unaccustomed to it. "Change? Don't I look good?" Mu Chichi was taken aback. "I don't like it," Sheng Xiao answered directly. Mu Chichi quickly returned to her room at those words and changed into her usual style, returning to Sheng Xiao. "How about this? It's much more pleasing to the eye. Let's go." Mu Chichi followed behind Sheng Xiao and saw that he was actually driving her yellow sports car. It was fixed just like that? "Where are we going?" "You'll know soon." With that, Sheng Xiao opened the car door and led Mu Chichi to a revolving restaurant near the amusement park. Mu Chichi was moved when she saw the twinkling lights of the amusement park. "I've never had fun here before. I won't take you there," Sheng Xiao answered her directly. "Forget it." Mu Chichi shook her head at that. "I don't want you to come with me even if you're willing. It's beneath your status." Sheng Xiao's eyes darkened considerably at once. "Brother Xiao, what did you call me?" Sheng Xiao lifted Mu Chichi's chin across the table and asked her dangerously. "So, brother. I'm asking, what do you want to call me in your heart?" Sheng Xiao pressed, staring straight into Mu Chichi's eyes. So. Mu Chichi boldly replied. "Isn't that a little impolite? I just think about it occasionally. I'll reward you with that." Unexpectedly, Sheng Xiao said generously without even lifting an eyelid. Mu Chichi stared at Xing Xiao in disbelief. Are you saying that I can call you Xiao Xiao? Only after people. Xing Xiao emphasized before asking, I've heard about what happened at school. Are you scared? Mu Chichi shook her head. No. I've told you that I'm no longer a member of the Mu family. I won't hold back if Mu Tangxue bullies me again. Xing Xiao looked at Mu Chichi appreciatively and smiled. Do you have a plan? Yes. Because I know that it's not shameful to have my past dug out. Mu Chichi answered Xing Xiao determinedly, although she kept the second half of her sentence inside her heart and did not dare to say it out loud. And because you're by my side, I have the courage to conquer everything. I'll be waiting for your performance tomorrow. Since you're so determined, I'll reluctantly take a ride on the Ferris wheel with you. Really? Mu Chichi confirmed, overwhelmed by the favor. You don't believe me? Then I won't go. Yes, we'll go after dinner. Mu Chichi quickly admitted defeat. Xing Xiao, who should be having a candlelight dinner with a beauty, now seemed more willing to do something as childish as riding a Ferris wheel with a little girl. And for no other reason. Just because it was comfortable. Chapter 24. Mu Chichi was very excited. Her entire body was immersed in the pink bubbles, and she was in a hurry as she went downstairs. It was only when she entered the Ferris wheel that she calmed down, because Xing Xiao was sitting beside her. He was really handsome from the side, especially when others did not even have the right to approach Xing Xiao, while she could joke around beside him. That gave Mu Chichi the illusion that she was special to Xing Xiao. Is it that nice? Xing Xiao had his eyes closed at first, but he could not avoid Mu Chichi's passionate gaze and so simply asked. It's beautiful. Mu Chichi said, pointing at the scenery outside. The night view of Jianchuan is beautiful in the first place. Xing Xiao laughed mockingly but did not expose Mu Chichi. Country bumpkin. Mu Chichi laughed heartily. At least, she felt that she had never been so happy and blissful in the Mu family. Mu Chichi treasured her time inside the Ferris wheel. She hoped that it would last longer, just a little longer, but time was always so short. Let's go home. It had been long enough. Mu Chichi needed to rest for the night since she still had to fight Mu Tangxue tomorrow, which was why Xing Xiao did not allow her to stay outside for long. Although Mu Chichi was disappointed, she told herself that she must be satisfied. What if the heavens took away all the happiness she had left if she was too greedy? When Su Zipei saw that Mu Chichi was completely different from when she came back, she knew how important Xing Xiao was to Mu Chichi. So she smiled and said, Thank you, young Master Sheng, for being there for Mu Chichi when she is sad. Xing Xiao said nothing and simply turned away suavely. It was only when he returned to his sports car that he could feel his racing heartbeat. Why was it so easy to be addicted? Meanwhile, Mu Chichi was lying by her window, watching as Xing Xiao left before returning to her little bed and sat down dejectedly. She wanted more chances to be alone with Xing Xiao, but it seemed to be wishful thinking. Even so, he allowed her to call him Xiao Xiao. He allowed it. Mu Chichi's heart was beating very fast. She simply flipped open her phone, but her expression became very serious when she saw the message Chan Chan had sent her. She had to rest up now for a good fight with Mu Tangxue tomorrow. When Xing Xiao reached home, Mama Sheng was sitting in the living room. When she saw her son, she immediately greeted him with a smile. Xing Xiao, come here. Let's talk. Xing Xiao glanced at his mother and then at the photos on the table. He suddenly had an idea. Mom, what's it like this time? I know that my son doesn't even fancy Heaven Immortals, but you're already 26 this year. You should get married, right? Mama Sheng pulled him to sit down. The other brothers of the Sheng family have already had their second child at your age. Shouldn't you think about it? Xing Xiao looked at the young ladies and then at his mother. Mom, don't let me see these things in the future. You know my temper. But, Mom, let me put it this way. If Dad forces me to marry her, I'll agree. Mama Sheng laughed at that because she did not hear what Xing Xiao was going to say next. However, I will treat her harshly, abuse her, and even beat her up. At that time, hand over her corpse and don't blame me for not informing you. At that very moment, Mama Sheng's smile froze on her face. I still have things to do tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Good night, Mom. With that, Xing Xiao rose and rushed back to his room at a speed that Mama Sheng could not catch up to. Knowing the Sheng family's circumstances, he had to make his stance clear. Moreover, ever since Mu Chichi came, he was even less interested in finding a woman. He could not even take care of that little girl. The next day Mu Chichi woke up early. Su Zipei was a little worried when she saw her eating breakfast calmly. About the school, don't worry Aunt Zipe. I'll take care of it. Muchichi smiled at Su Zipe. Really, it's fine? I can handle it. Muchichi assured Su Zipe confidently. With the sun in her heart, there was no fear of darkness. At that thought, Muchichi tightened her grip on the pen in her hand. It was the only thing that once belonged to Xingxiao. It was as if Xingxiao's warmth still lingered on it. Well, be careful. Call young Master Sheng if you encounter anything you can't handle. There was reason for Su Zipe's worry. There was no telling how much Mu Tongxue had bewitched the students after Muchichi's 2 days away. If Muchichi was bullied again because of Mu Tongxue, she knew that the confidence Muchichi had built up after much difficulty would be destroyed. Muchichi smiled faintly despite being aware of Su Zipe's worry. She had to act and convince her aunt that she could handle it. Soon Muchichi got into Old Lin's car and soon reached Eton. However, the rumors spread too quickly. Moreover, it was such explosive gossip for the students that everyone naturally did not hold back when they saw Muchichi in person. Look, that's the Muchichi that Van Gogh dropped. That's her. Didn't she copy her exam results? She's always hanging out with bad people. Rumor has it that one of her students even had an abortion. Disgusting. Someone like her doesn't deserve to stay in Eton. Muchichi was aware that everyone around her was scolding her, insulting her and misunderstanding her. But she was not as fearful as before, especially when she bumped into Mu Tongxue at the gates of her class. There was no sign of submission in her eyes, and she was as determined as ever. You're back, sister. Yes, I'm back. Muchichi nodded. Aren't you afraid I'll bully you by sticking so close to me? Sister, you should solve your current predicament. The rumors are nasty. Everyone in the class hates you. I'm really worried for you. Muchichi laughed coldly and returned to her seat. Qian Qian, who was sitting beside her, asked, What did you say to that scheming sister of yours? She's waiting for me to kneel and kowtow to her. Muchichi replied. Because I'm being ostracized by the whole class, so I have to ask her for help. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Qian Qian hugged her shoulders and said darkly. But how are you going to explain all this to your classmates? That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.